Hey now.
And good morning, everyone. And we are back live. It is Monday morning. I received an email this morning from Bubba the Love Sponge. He said, back to work. Welcome back.
Oh, how
sweet. And I said,
Yeah, it was so hard getting out of bed this morning. That alarm went off.
Probably harder for Artie.
I guess so.
Artie,
it's always harder for me.
I was on vacation, of course, for the week, as we all were, and Artie had asked me to write the foreword to his book,
That's right.
Too Fat to Fish, which is the new hit book. It's already a hit. It hasn't even come out yet. It's not even done.
You can't read it, but you can sign up to buy it.
Actually, Artie didn't ask me to write the foreword. I volunteered to write the foreword. So,
you did,
yes. So I had Yes, I'm a very sweet guy.
Me being the media savvy guy that I am, I jumped all over that offer.
Smart.
Like a douchebag.
Well, anyway, so I was sitting on my vacation, madly trying to get this thing done because...
So you were working on Artie's forward during your vacation?
Yes, I was. I was working. So then I called Artie to find out where I should send this thing because I know they had
You finished it?
Yes.
Unbelievable piece of work, by the way.
Thank you. Artie's carrying on about it, but it's not all that great. But
well, everyone I've showed it to,
they liked it.
Oh my God, it's so the comedy's hilarious and the poignant stuff is worse. I mean, it just really is. I told Howard on the message, I said the only problem is the rest of the book isn't going to be as well written.
You know what's funny?
Well, thank goodness there's something.
Well, usually when I write something, I either send it over to Fred to look over, or I'll have my agent look it over. But
this one you felt...
It's personal.
No, there was no time to do any of that. He hadn't, and I respect that. So I quickly wrote it. Beth checked it for grammar, which I'm sure there was a million things wrong. She's really good with that stuff. She was an English major. So, she goes, no, there's a semicolon here and this and that.
Who even knows how to use a semicolon?
Oh, I didn't even know how to find it on the typewriter. I wasn't even sure what a semicolon was, but she seemed to know all that. And then I rushed it off to Artie's publisher. But anyway, so I called Artie to find out where to send this thing. And I didn't get an immediate response, so I called his assistant.
You're trying to send it in, right?
Yeah, I can't find out where to send it.
Not only is it unbelievably, it's first of all, again, I can't overstate this enough that I'm blown away by how great it is. It's really so amazing.
Wow. And well, thank you, guys.
It's well written. It's funny. It's a great piece of work. Everyone I showed it to.
Well, I wish he could turn it in.
I left him. I left him a message saying, "Listen, if you don't like it, don't use it."
Yeah, I know.
said, "I'm not sure that this is
what you're looking for."
I don't even know if you like this, but you feel free to edit it or whatever you want to do with it.
I'm sitting here going through every emotion you could possibly go through reading something, and I'm going, "Wow, what an impressive piece of work!" And then I hear Howard going, "Look, if you don't like it." He's all paranoid like he always is when you... And then, of course, a guy with this kind of work ethic, you give him he's calling us. Like, where do I send this?
Well, that was the thing. So I'm sitting in my house on a beautiful day indoors writing Artie's thing, and I go, I can't get a hold of Artie. I can't get a hold of anyone to where to send this thing. I go,
after working this hard, you got to turn it in.
I said, he's probably out having fun. And
he's lying in the sun, enjoying the day.
Yeah, and I have nowhere to but it turns out...
lying in the sun.
So as I'm writing this thing, I get a note from Jimmy Kimmel, who says to me, Artie's in rehab.
What?
So I go,
Jimmy Kimmel?
I wrote Jimmy back. I wrote back to Jimmy and said, don't you think I would know?
Yeah.
If Artie wouldn't I be the first person to know?
Jimmy Kimmel be the one telling you?
He goes, Artie didn't show up at the Bob Saget roast, which he was supposed to be at. So I said,
Artie was so excited about this roast.
I was.
No.
I mean, it was the depression of missing the roast. It's the first time I really ever missed anything like that.
Yeah, you're usually pretty on top of that.
And, look, the crazy thing is I've done 2 roasts for Comedy Central, both for guys I never met before in my life.
Finally, they get to somebody you know.
Right. You Hefner and William Shatner, who I think have forgotten me already, seconds after I left the podium. This was for a friend of mine who I did a movie with that there's a lot of fodder for making fun of. And I was going to be with friends. I was really looking forward to it. And then my plane crashed into the side of the mountain again. As
how are you here if your plane crashed?
Well,
metaphorically speaking.
Right.
Well, anyway,
Fred.
Jim,
I didn't realize Jimmy, because Jimmy had called me and said, you're coming out to L.A. 2 days before the roast. He said, let's get together, which was nice. I had the feeling that he's single now and he was wanting to maybe go hang
He figures who knows better how to have fun than you.
And I called him back and I said, yeah, man, I'll be there. And
yeah, you had great plans.
I did. I actually have plans. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm like, Artie's in rehab. Well, I said, geez.
What kind of rehab?
Stupid me. I see him nodding, sleeping on the air, rather, and it turns out he was nodding.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I thought it looked like a nod, but I wasn't sure.
All I know is even some guy wrote a song parody talking about how stupid I am.
For not realizing.
I'm always the last one to know that Artie's back on stage.
Well, even when I bring it up, you're defending him.
Yeah, he was tired.
There were times where it wasn't all. I fell off the heroin wagon, as we'll call it.
Yeah, but the week before we left, you were off, right?
Yes, I was very off.
I saw you nodding that week.
Right. Okay, but I fell off about 7 weeks ago. So
I saw you nodding a lot.
Well, there were times where, in the last couple of years, where it wasn't from drugs. It was just from being
every once in a while it was tired.
300 pounds in awful physical condition. But about 7 weeks.
Where were you scoring?
Wait a minute. How could you get heroin in Afghanistan?
That was a time where I thank God. I was able to, you want me to tell the full story now?
Yeah, all right, go ahead. I was going to wait a while because
it's up
I
to
built
you.
suspense.
I mean, I don't care.
The other heroin addicts aren't awake yet.
Right.
Yeah, well, they're never going to be really.
Now I know I went to Afghanistan. He went direct to the poppy fields.
That's right. He was out in a field somewhere.
Was it driving you nuts to be that close to the heroin trade when you were in Afghanistan?
I made a lot of jokes about it in my sets out there, and they didn't realize how close it was hitting to home. Maybe about 2 weeks before I went to Afghanistan, I had just had a big conference call with the USO, and they're like, look, a doctor gave me a physical saying, look, he's not in great physical condition, but he could certainly handle this tour, And
doctor has a lot of faith.
But a couple of weeks before I had went out, and without getting too specific, I was probably hanging out with the wrong crowd in Jersey.
This is about 7 weeks ago?
Yes.
All right.
And, one thing led to another, and I ended up getting heroin.
I feel like
there's no other way to
Ray
put
Charles.
it.
What are these dark glasses? Take off those glasses.
Well, Ray Charles was into heroin.
He's in rehab. You're in rehab right now, right? In other words, we're sitting here with a man in rehab.
Well, I'm in a therapy with a guy who's involved with rehab, but
right.
it's not like I was overnight. The story's insane.
How could it be?
Right. So, okay. So anyway, what happened was, Subutex is this big, that's like my knight in shining armor when it comes to getting off with the withdrawals and stuff. But I had not put it to the test the way I did this past time.
Yeah, I thought if you take heroin while you're on Subutex,
right,
you don't get high.
You don't get high.
Just the same day. In other words, if you take it within if you take it within 12 hours, it blocks the high. But if you can stay off the Subutex for longer than 12 hours.
So your plan was, I'm going to stay off the Subutex and then I'll get high.
Well, yeah, that's what happened. What happened was like a bunch of planets aligned that were negative planets.
You have such good plans. I mean, one thing about him, he never plans, but he plans out.
Drug addicts plan. I mean, you plan out. There's a great line.
So you really had a plan to take heroin, is what I'm saying.
No. You were talking about it a lot. Amsterdam was a challenge.
Right. Nothing happened in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That was all right in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I was completely clean. I was clean from the end of beer league till 7 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it wasn't a plan, but I was drinking when I went out, and I guess I could say I was shooting pool in a billiard league.
Right.
And
billiard league.
Yeah, there's a
that sounds good.
There's a pool league I play in sometimes.
I never knew you were in a billiard league.
Well, I'm actually like an alternate, and pool's one of those things where I used to almost make a living playing pool.
Wow.
You're that good.
I was good at it. I was good at 9-ball and all this. And we used to play guys. We had you'd have money on the 5 and the 9 were the money balls. So you'd play like much like Texas Hold'em with a $10 and a $20 blind. You know, $10 for the 5, $20 for the 9. And I was good enough to where I could play with a partner of mine, and we would pretend we didn't know each other, and we would set each other up. Like
right.
I was able to.
So you were a con man.
I was able to.
Wow.
I was good enough to wear
another notch in that belt.
No.
So you were good enough to be relied upon to win on a consistent basis.
Am I admitting the grand larceny? I think the statute of limitations are up. No, I was good enough to wear. Again, like with everything else, I was inconsistent. There were nights you'd think I was Willie Moscone,
right?
Like in The Hustler, Paul Newman would say it's like part of my arm tonight. And there were other nights where I wasn't that great, but I was good enough to sort of set. Like we go into a pool hall. This place, High Q in Jersey, and there were a bunch of marks in there because it was all just like, you know, high school kids and stuff. And
just right for the pickings.
This one I was
right for a room full
in their pocket.
Right.
Room full, you know, school kids. And
they go to school.
People who don't do heroin.
Right. People who aren't here to rip people off.
Losers. I like that.
Losers who were trying to pick out a major in college.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. Just because this is absurd. Go ahead.
So what happened was, if you can understand what it was. Those assholes.
You know,
pigeons.
You know.
And the guy, one of the guys I used to do this with is still one of my best friends. It was so funny. Like we would go in there.
Might be time for you to get new friends.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to change this crew.
We would pretend, and then when I worked at the port, I did this quite a bit too. That was the atmosphere. But we would go in and pretend we don't know each other, and you'd get into a 3-way 9-ball game. And I was good enough to where I could set up my buddy, as long as he was going after me, to where he'd have the easiest shot at the 5,
right,
and then the easiest shot at the 9.
Right. And
then we just split the money at the end. There's some nights we split like $600.
Wow.
You know? And that's how I made, money for a little while.
You should be so proud.
Yeah, but anyway, so, but there were a bunch of guys, there was a couple of guys I know from those days who were, they haven't moved on in life, put it that way. And
still picking at the pool hole.
Yeah, right. And there's this one guy that he plays in a pool league now, which is all straight. And I really lost a lot on my pool game, tons. But every once in a while he calls me, but I'm afraid to go because it really is shady types.
Right.
And this time I felt like shooting pool, and I went and I was drinking. And
I thought you weren't supposed to be. Was this before you got on the wagon with the drinking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is what caused it, actually. And
drinking is your gateway drug.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of people. But
right.
The funny thing was, I wasn't drinking, and I was doing heroin.
Well, that was the thing. He stopped drinking.
Right, because I was afraid.
What are you doing? Heroin's your gateway drug.
I tell you,
there's nothing left.
There's nothing left to do.
You're just going to blowing your head up with a M80, I think. So I skipped the Subutex.
Oh, okay.
To drink.
Right.
You can't drink on Subutex?
You can, but, it
ruins it.
Yeah, sort of. It's a bad taste.
It's a blocker.
Oh.
Yeah, and if you're drunk, you don't feel any side effects, really, of withdrawals. So I skipped the Subutex. Now, I found myself at the end of the night drunk, shooting pool with a bunch of guys who I hadn't gone in a while, who everybody sort of recognized me, like people getting me in headlocks and saying, do this shot. And I was like very accommodating. I could feel like, all right, man, you know what? I'm in danger zone right now. And sure enough, a guy, knowing my reputation, asked me if I wanted some heroin.
Was this a friend?
Geez, you're around.
No,
like you attract some kind of crowd.
Yeah, it was.
Like, people just have no heart with you. Like why would a guy? They know you're struggling.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny since I told all my cocaine problems on this show, for some reason, I haven't done coke since June 14th of '97. I remember.
And nobody offers you that?
You remember your date with
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, my God. That's the point. Like, I'd been out in comedy clubs. People put it in my hand.
Oh, geez.
And for
So this
some
guy
reason,
at the pool hall, what's his name? Satan?
Yeah.
I will call him Satan.
Satan. Yeah, so Satan says to you.
He says, you want to, party tonight? There's a couple of broads over here. It would be, they party, blah, 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 blah. So, I had a wad of money on me, and I bought, a couple of bags, and I ended up.
How much is a
What's
bag?
a couple of bags cost?
The bag, $40.
$40 a bag?
Geez.
Yeah. How long
to
is a
ruin
bag?
your life, it's only $40.
Yeah.
Not even free for you? I mean, you're already laying. I mean, here Satan doesn't give you a taste
that's
for
what
free?
happened. Yeah, I did. I got several for free.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. At least you got something for free.
And, it's like going to Home Depot and getting sheetrock.
Right.
It's, I got heroin.
They got a ton of it, huh?
So anyway, I was really like, having fun. And,
Broads too, huh?
there were broads around, but nothing happened.
But let me ask you something. Now, when you've not done heroin for a long time, do you get that first time?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't smoked a Marlboro Red in a while and you get a buzz. So anyway, it was bad, and I went home, and the problem is I still had a bag left, and I woke up the next day really like almost suicidal, like feeling guilty.
Right, and also you're like, oh no, I'm back on that bandwagon again, or that train where I have to keep. Then you get sick, and
do you get hooked right away?
Well, the next day, the thing was I had some left, so the next day I said, shit, I'll just get right back on the Subutex and forget about it. But,
might as well finish the
bag is talking to you.
Right, you might as well finish the bag and then get on the Subutex.
The bag says, why not?
Now, mind you, this is all right after I told the USO I haven't been on heroin and like all this time, and there's no way I'm going to have any problems over there, blah, blah, blah. So, I just sort of party for a few days at home, which is so pathetic.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then 3 days before we're going...
They call that a party.
3 days before we're going to Afghanistan, I forced myself to stop because I was like, this is... I can't miss this.
Right.
So I stopped and I waited the 12 hours because I'm always... The doctor told me specifically, goes, look, if you ever do fall off the wagon, wait till you take the Subutex because you get violently ill.
Right.
So I waited until I woke up the next day feeling really bad, withdrawals coming on, and I took the Subutex and sat there. Everything was fine. So for 3 days, I lived the way I had been living, and then we went to Afghanistan, and everything was cool.
Okay. The Subutex got you through it.
Yes.
Right.
I get back from Afghanistan, and we still have a week off. And, I was happy that it was a success. I might as well, reward myself. I really felt like...
When did you fall off again?
8 hours after I landed from
No wonder we didn't see you at that party.
Maybe 6 hours. I don't know.
Yeah, so Artie decides to have a party at his house, invites you over, and that's why he was in the shower
no
all
wonder
the time.
he's in... I said, I can't imagine taking a shower.
So you
for
weren't
that
in
long.
the shower. You were on heroin.
I was upstairs hanging.
Right.
Having fun.
No wonder there was no proper food or alcohol.
Yeah, forget alcohol. Who needs alcohol? He's got heroin.
Well, you should have told me, Robin. Is heroin vegan?
So you were up in your room partying while everyone was at the party.
Yeah, I had a friend there. Well, there was a couple of girls there that whatever.
Oh, you're living the life.
So anyway,
you're Jackie Gleason times 10.
I told you there was one person there who the only references in their language was drug references.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of those guys. So
this is dark, bro.
It was. It was dark, and it was so. I like everything. The Shore House represented all this stuff that was going to be better in my life, and
here you are on heroin.
And now out of the blue, it's funny how things happen for a reason. My mother and sister, who I can't fool anymore, just really figured out something was wrong. So they were
saw it right away,
very mad, and they didn't want to accept. And Richard Lewis, who, you know, I had never had any contact with besides this show.
Richard Lewis, the comedian.
Comedian.
Yeah.
After we were on here together last time, you know, I exchanged numbers with him, and he calls me like out of the blue and goes, listen, I didn't really know much about you till I did the show with you with Howard. I Googled you and I watched some stuff and I saw you have problems. And, you know, there's this doctor. I won't say his name. I don't know if the guy wants his name on the air. But anyway, because this doctor had saved my life with addiction problems. He goes, I pay for other people to go there. You know, he really just gets comics and the road all. And I'm talking to him on the phone and like literally while I got a bag of heroin on the table. And he's saying, he goes, look, I don't know if you're having the trouble now, but you know, this guy's unreal. He'll save your life. He goes, he saved my life.
By the way, I have to ask one question. Where were you scoring? Did you have to go to Delaware?
No, I got a...
He got a closer connection.
You got a closer connection.
The pool.
Thank God.
Luckily, the guy...
I don't want you driving while you're on heroin.
Yeah, luckily the guy shot pool with a local guy.
Yeah.
And,
so Richard Lewis, and he called...
So, yeah, and he just gave me the name of this doctor.
Out of the blue, just...
Right, just a couple of weeks before all this happened. And I'm like, wow, you know, and so I wrote the guy's name down. Like, I have all these therapists, like, you know, Howard's guy.
You got a list.
I got a list of guys, you know. And, but that was weird that just sort of happened. My mother and sister started giving me ultimatums about how, like, you know, the Shore House was supposed to be a place where you could relax and you're back doing this, we could tell, blah, blah, blah. So,
so do you get angry with them when they start nagging you?
What is the ultimatum?
Almost like they weren't going to talk to me anymore. You know.
Well, that's good.
Except for the food, though.
Right.
No, of course, that was awful. I love them more than anything. And you know, I didn't have the balls or the guts to tell them they were right, you know. So
you told them, you're crazy.
Right. And then in between I had a stand-up gig that at Caroline's, right? So those gigs I had 2 shows on a Thursday night and 1 show on a Friday night, and I like literally just made it to each show because I was at home. And I got to the point where I could pull up to Caroline's, Teddy grabs my car, parks it, I go downstairs, I literally do an hour and 10 minutes, and just go right back home. There's broads all over the place, I just don't even care, I just go back home. And I figure, you know, I got this big weekend coming up in L.A., and I figured the Subutex, just like it helped me with Afghanistan, is going to help me
get through that.
Right. Which is the wrong way to use that, anybody will tell you, it's a complete crutch, and that's stupid. So we do the last show here before our week off, July 31st. I was supposed to go see Springsteen that night.
Yeah, I
you
heard
didn't
you blew
show
that
up
off.
for that. Yeah, we were all wondering where you were.
Thursday night is Springsteen, and you know, the next day off, going into a week off. And it's a rare L.A. trip that I really was looking forward to. I was going to see a bunch of friends. You know, Saget, the first guy I'm ever going to roast for them that I know. Norm was going to... I haven't seen Norm in forever. You know,
you had plans with Sam and
Sam
Jimmy.
was coming, right. Jimmy Kimmel I had talked to. It was going to be a rare L.A. weekend where I get some work done, where, you know, you make a good chunk of change for those roasts, get that out of the way, and a few days of just hanging out.
Right.
So, what happened was I blow off Springsteen, which is really like that is just something.
That should have been the tip-off to me, because we were like, where's Artie?
I mean, it's Springsteen, a giant stadium. For Christ's sake. And then,
they were great that night, by the way.
And word had gotten to me that he had had 6 of his friends go.
Yeah,
but not
all my buddies went. Actually, one of the kids I used to set up the pool 9-ball with, he went. And I just blew it off. I said, I am not feeling good, and I got to go to L.A. And I had a lot of people wrote me some good jokes. I had good jokes. I was prepared for the roast.
You want to do your roast here? What were you going to say about Bob Saget?
I got all the stuff home. I could bring him.
Yeah, you should.
He should get his roast.
Actually, Saget, I think, is coming in this week, so Artie can roast him.
Oh,
roast him here.
That'll be good.
Yeah, you can sit here and tell him your jokes.
And he can laugh at you because you didn't get to do them on Comedy Central.
I'll tell him for free.
For free.
Yeah. So
might as well. What the hell are you going to use them?
So
I don't think they're having another roast for Saget anytime soon.
And I don't think they'll work out in the routine.
Okay.
So it spilled over into Friday, and this
when
is
were
where
you supposed to leave?
I was supposed to leave Saturday at 3 p.m. So I just never stopped, and I said to myself, I'll just take a later flight because now I was trying to figure out the Subutex timing.
What is it with heroin? How often do you have to do it? Like, are you like every time you have to do it going, I have to stop.
I heard, again, thank God I've never shot it. I heard if you shoot it, it lasts for like 12 hours or something, which is why I thought about it.
This is knowledge you don't need.
Were you thinking about shooting it?
Years ago.
Right, but
I talked about that before, just because I didn't have enough and I had to get through a plane ride, Everything becomes hell because you're
planning your life around it.
Yeah.
And how often do you have to snort it in order to feel, maintain your health? Like every hour?
Yeah, no, a couple times an hour,
A couple of times an hour.
Now with my constitution with it.
Wow.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I didn't realize that much.
Times an hour.
Well, I mean,
shit.
like a line or two, not
just to stay normal.
What a racket that is.
Just to say normal and somewhat high.
Somewhat high. Okay.
So
at this point you're doing it like every hour, snorting it a couple of times an hour.
I'll tell you, it's funny. It never got as insidious as Coke did, though.
Right.
Because
what does that mean?
Well, just because
Coke is like a mad frenzy.
It is, yeah, and it's like it's more of a social drug. You want to stay out, you want to see people.
So that means you had to do it here during the show too, right? I mean, you had a.
No, I never did.
Never did it during the show.
No, God.
Well, what do you do? You take a vacuum and soak it up, and then.
No, I mean, I just would. The high would go away, but the withdrawals wouldn't start.
I see.
For hours. I mean, you would sleep for you'd have to sleep for like 10 hours before that kicked in.
Okay.
So I mean, I never did it here. And so I kept putting off the flight till now 6:50. I get a flight for 6:50 a.m. The day of the roast. So now I'm looking at a monster day. But I pulled that off before. Like I'm looking at flying L.A., getting prepared, landing, taking a shower at the hotel, going right to the run-through, doing the run-through. Then, doing whatever, eating lunch, and then going back at 6, doing all the red carpet, hair, makeup, because they do that with those roasts.
Sounds like
interviews, and then, do the roast, and then, the whole after party. So I'm looking at a day that's going to start at 6:50 New York time and probably end at 1 a.m. LA time. But again, I've done that before.
You've done it.
Even with stand-up. And I'm like, so...
You do have the constitution of a horse, I got to say.
The problem is, so now 6:50 is looming like this torture time,
and you're up all night or something.
Well, what I did was I ran out of heroin.
Oh God!
At midnight.
Ugh.
And I fall asleep. And now I wake up. I set the alarm for 4:30. I wake up at 4:30, and I'm in like a bit of a frenzy because now I see, it's one of those things where there's nothing, like I have nothing packed. All the jokes for the roast are like all over the place, and I didn't even organize them. And I got to try to, so I'm trying to throw them in a bag. I'm running around. And what I did was I lost track of the time. And when I'm in that situation and I have to get on a plane every other time, I take a Subutex. So I took a Subutex. Big mistake because it was within 3 hours. Oh,
you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Right. That was the one rule.
Yeah. It was, it was in 3 hours, not only of like the guy said, look, if you're taking like a 7 milligram Vicodin, don't mix it. So I took the Subutex within 3 hours of stopping like a 2-day heroin bit.
Right. You didn't realize.
Right. So I took it, and now it's supposed to make me feel better, but as it dissolves and it gets into your blood system. And as I'm trying to get all together,
You're getting sick.
Violently ill.
Like what happens to you?
Like I start getting the chills, like you know, like when you have the flu, you get the chills, but you're hot, and I became like pale as a ghost, and I tried to go in the shower to get ready to go on a plane. I couldn't organize the jokes. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't pack. I couldn't put socks and a toothbrush and I said,
because you're so sick,
right? So I said, I'll just get on the plane with no bag and I'll just buy clothes in L.A. Like I've done that. I've done that before too.
You hate to shop.
I used to. Well, whatever. I just said like I was going to the W hotel. I'll buy like a W shirt or something. And you know, I've done that. I did that in Vegas a lot when I lived in L.A. I'd play into Vegas with like a toothbrush. That was it. And stay for 3 days. But my whole goal was just to try to get well. Just get on the plane.
Grab your jokes, get to the plane,
exactly.
and you'll work it out.
The only thing I need were the jokes.
Right.
I thought we'd grab those, and even my assistant Hillary had them all copied. I could even like I just had to get my ass in the car onto the jet. But now I'm in the shower, and now I realize what I did. Because I hadn't yet. I realized that I took the... Now I'm freaking out, like, okay, wait a minute, whoa.
How bad is this going to get?
Right. Now I don't know if it's the, you know, like if it's the big earthquake or what's going to happen. So I don't know what to do. Now, I keep delaying the time I can get to the airport, and I have a connection at the Continental Newark, and he's like, he goes, yeah, but, you know, you really got to get here soon, blah, blah, blah.
You got to get through security, you got things to do.
Yeah, and I had postponed 3 flights at this point. My driver's like, what do you need? What do you need? And I'm like, I'm coming down late. I'm trying anything I can just to get on the plane and go out. So it gets to the point where I try to take another shower, and in the shower, it's just futile.
What's the thing with the showers? What's going on with that?
Because I would keep sweating. Like, in other words, I'd get out of the shower, and I would need another shower.
Right.
So I would then put another pair of sweatpants on or something, and they'd become soaked in 2 seconds.
Oh, my God.
So now I had no clothes left. And I'm down to like I literally got down to my last pair of pants that I could even remotely fit me that wasn't soaked with sweat.
Wow.
And I put a T-shirt on, and that's when I just gave up. I lay down on the bed and I said, okay, now I'm faced with the reality that I can't make the roast.
Right.
I can't go.
I mean, you're lucky you didn't die. You could have gotten like cardiac arrest or something.
I don't know what's happening.
Who knows what's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a call into a pharmacist and my doctor.
A pharmacist?
Just to ask him. I'm like, look,
because he doesn't know how bad it's going to get.
Yeah, but do you have a number? I was amazed at his resources.
I mean, there's a CVS up the road. You know, I just had to get some sort of, you know, nice Indian pharmacist. They're all so nice.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to die, and that'll be $28.50. Exactly. Like now, my concern wasn't the road. Now my concern was, am I going to die? Like, do I have to get to an emergency room immediately? And I was just going to come clean. Like, look, what I was going to say to a pharmacist, like, look, just say, I'm pulling this scenario out of the air. Just say,
for instance.
Just say you did heroin for 3 days. And then you took a Subutex. Like, what would you tell that guy?
But
not
do you
me.
Think you would be...
I have a friend.
Do you think you would sound that rational? Do you think you were, like, completely out of your mind?
No, I was out of my mind. So I said, now, who do I call? And, of course, in a position like that, you call your lawyer first. My lawyer, Jared Levine, is the greatest guy in the world, and he's with a big firm out there. I figured he'd know what to do, you know. So it's like now it's like 1 a.m. L.A. time.
You go to the Bernie Brillstein book and you look up, like, what are you supposed to do? So Bernie Brillstein's
John
dead.
Belushi as a client.
Right.
Well, I call up Jared, and I left him a voicemail on his cell phone, because obviously he's not going to be in the office. And I said, listen, man, I'm really, really sick. I can't make the Saget roast. It's the day of.
Right.
And, you know, I never do this, man, but I'm really sick. That's all I tell him. Now I lay back down, and now I get an insane headache. And I swear to you, I was turning like green. I looked in the mirror.
Did you think about checking into like a hospital or something?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what happened. So, like I see like my skin pigmentation like changing.
Like the Hulk.
Yeah, right. I was becoming the Hulk.
Becoming a superhero.
I could imagine he got superpowers out of this. Son of a bitch, I would have been so mad.
That would have been great.
Taking heroin.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like saying, look, I could save you a bunch of money on makeup. I know the chemical makeup on how a human being can turn green.
So at this point, you got to be really nervous, and your mind's working on you. Like, what did I do to myself?
Yes, right. Yes. I'm like,
yeah, this is all my fault.
This
I'm
is
gonna
it.
die.
I'm gonna. This is it. It ended. Like this is where this crazy life is done.
Right.
40 years old. They're gonna find me dead in an apartment.
Right.
And literally all that stuff's going through my mind. So.
Do you start to clean up just so they find you in a nice way?
Well, I can't do anything. So I'm literally laying in the bed, just rolling around, like writhing in pain, and then the phone rings, and it's Jared, my lawyer. So I see that on the caller ID, and I said, well, I'll pick up the phone and just at least, because I felt so guilty that I was doing this to these guys. Joel Gallen, who's a great guy who produced the other roasts I've done. I work with him a bunch. You know Joel Gallen.
I know Joel, yeah.
And, Jared calls me up. He goes, listen, I talked to Joel, and, he's just a producer trying to do a show now. Your health comes first. I didn't tell him about the drugs. He said, what do you have? And I said, I have like the flu,
That flu.
And he's like, he goes, well, you sure you can't just get on any sort of plane because, I'm like, well, I just really I got like a fever. I'm not coming clean with him.
Right.
But he could tell I sound like shit. So he goes, all right, well, let me tell him that. He calls me back 2 minutes later, and he goes, listen, I got Joel on the other line. He goes, you're my client. I'll never put him on the other line because it'll be pressure. He goes, but
Joel's freaking out.
Listen, he goes, he's a producer, has to do a show. And now, look, I've done 2 of the roasts. I never felt this important before, but evidently, Saget, I know. I'm friendly with him. I guess they figured I'd be a bigger part of the evening. Not only telling jokes, I'm sure a lot of jokes would be
written about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
I can't wait for the next one.
So he goes, listen, my lawyer says, not knowing what's going on, he goes, listen, Joel says they'll have a private jet at Teterboro with a doctor on.
Oh, my God.
And you get on the jet. They'll send a limo to your house. You get on the jet. There'll be a medic on the jet.
Wow. Now you know what to ask for.
Right. It's going to be medevac to a roast.
Who knew Comedy Central had that kind of budget?
Well, listen. Yeah. So now
I would have gotten onto the phone and said, you should have done that first.
I wouldn't have called. I would have gotten on the plane.
So now through all this, I'm starting to feel important, But so he goes, and then there'll be a doctor on the jet. It'll just be you and the doctor on the jet. You'll land in Burbank. There'll be a doctor that meets you at Burbank.
Better be Dr. Feelgood.
And it'll drive you to, I think, CBS Radford.
Bernie Mac didn't get this kind of training.
Well, he should have. And then he goes, but this is the show business bullshit. He's like, and then if you land and you still can't do it, Comedy Central will eat the $65,000.
Wow.
But Jared said to me, he goes, look, Art, you know as well as I do. If you land, you're going.
You're doing it.
You're right. You're
That's
doing
you
it.
And,
and I said, well, listen.
You're doing that roast from a stretcher if you have to.
Right. And I said, well, listen, if I made them do that, I would want to go no matter what I look like. But, then I'm thinking, so now I'm actually pondering this. And I'm saying, at one of these roasts, like,
could have died on that jet.
Well, here's the thing.
Wait, can you imagine the doctor when he sees this mess?
Yeah, you didn't tell me.
It'd be like the Munsters when the guy gets
be responsible for a death.
The guy gets in his car and you hear the car pulling away.
Yeah, you didn't tell me he was green. So now,
Hi, this is Joe Gallen. Artie, what I wanted to suggest is we're going to move the whole Bob Saget roast to your apartment. How big is your apartment?
That was next. So Joel, who I've known for a while, is being at the very least a mensch about this whole thing.
Right.
He's like, look, you missed 5 flights. I'm willing to put you on a jet for Christ's sake. You got the flu, and I'm still not. And Joel is the nicest guy, and my lawyer's the nicest guy, and the people at Comedy Central ended up treating me amazingly, but I wasn't being truthful with them.
Right.
So now I'm thinking, God, could I do this? But, hey, look, when I got all my powers and I'm feeling good, I'll go up against any lineup of guys at a roast. But I'm going to go there and not be 100%. And I'm just going to sit there like a blob.
Right.
And all the jokes are going to be about me being a junkie and fat and whatever.
Yeah,
and
you'll be Courtney Love.
Now I'm thinking, exactly what you said. Now I'm thinking, okay, my heart might explode on the jet, so I'll die. I'll die above Missouri. Rock and roll way to die, but who wants to die?
Right.
And then, or I could get on the show and I could die on the show, like literally die on the show. And then I honestly said to myself, I said, God, but I promised Howard I'd die on his show. I feel so bad.
You can't die on Comedy Central.
I'd kill you.
He'd wake you up to kill you.
This morning show would be Artie. He said he'd die here. So,
drag his body in.
But too fat to die on our show.
Now what I'm thinking is, but hey, this is show business, and I met these other doctors, but Mad TV used to send me to shrinks. They're working for Comedy Central.
Right.
So I could have went to the guy, and I said, listen, man, you want to ensure I do this roast, shoot me with morphine or something.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, that's what I need. And I'll probably feel good. I'll take a nice shower. I'll do the roast. Then we'll deal with this shit tomorrow.
Right.
I thought about doing that. I thought about trying to strong-arm the doctor on Lane.
But what would that do on top of the Subutex?
I don't know. I was willing to test it at that point. Because I felt so bad because my lawyer... He's like, look, Joel he really wants you out here, and it's the day. And I said, I know, man, I know. So then,
listen to his vacation,
right?
I'm
so
like,
finally,
yeah, we're sitting around. You're writing.
Right.
So finally,
I'm busy writing a dumb forward to his book. He's dying.
And then if you read Howard's forward, Howard's forward, I'll get to that, is one of the things that made me feel incredible. But I finally said, and before the old me would have said, I'll get on the plane and do more drugs. For the first time ever in my career, I said, you know what? I can't do this.
Good.
I got to go get help, man. I got to go. And then I told Jared, I alluded to what's really going on.
Right.
So to his credit and to Joel Gallen's credit and to everybody at Comedy Central, as soon as they heard that, the show... they said, Art, you're a friend. They were nice. They were just really...
You told them the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to what was going on, and my lawyer related to them, and my manager related to them, and they were so cool about it. I can't even tell you. They were like, well, look, just go get better. How can we help you get better there now? You need a car to the hospital, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So Joel and Comedy Central, I salute. I love you. They were so nice about it. And I said, no, I just got to go get help. Now, I had a migraine headache at this point. So I called up the pharmacist and I said, can I take Tylenol, what I just took, because I want this headache to go away. I take the 2 Tylenol, I lay back down, and I somehow fall asleep. I slept for about 4 hours, and I got up. And I still felt like shit. I was in like my bed was soaking wet, pool of sweat. And I just said, and I went and I checked myself. I drove myself to a detox that I know about in Jersey. And I just checked in. And I said, listen, I almost died, I think. I told them what I was doing. And it was a place I had been to before. But it wasn't the greatest of facilities,
Mm-hmm.
But I committed myself for overnight there. So I stay overnight. They get all my vital signs right. And they want me to go to this rehab. And I said, well, they said, the way we'll let you out. So I stayed one night sort of inpatient at a rehab. That's when I checked myself in. They said, we'll let you out only under a therapist's care who really comes and looks at you and lets you out. So I thought of the Richard Lewis guy because he's in Jersey. And I called him up, and sure enough, he called me right back. And he said, I've been expecting your call because Richard said you might call.
Wow.
And he's like an older guy, like a wise old man, who's been through this shit. And he got me out of that rehab in his care. Mm-hmm. And so I just, for the last week, I've been under this guy's care.
Did you have to promise him that you'd come every day and stuff?
Yes. Yeah. It was
every day.
And submit the urine test whenever, blah, all that stuff. So I got myself out of the detox, and I went under this guy's care. And I got to tell you, I was telling Howard on the phone, Richard was right, because God, I have never had a connection with a guy like this guy.
Wow.
I mean, I just, everything you said about when it clicked with you with this, I said, I don't know, maybe this is, I hit the wall and now it's all got to stop.
Right.
And he's just a brilliant guy. I feel good talking to him.
How long do you sit and talk to him for an hour?
Well, the first 2 days we talked for 3 hours.
Wow.
And then the next day was 2 hours, and now it's been an hour every day since. And then I went to my shore house for 2 days, and I talked to him on the phone. And
what's his strategy? Are you still on Subutex and stuff, or do you?
Well, he's like, the first question was physically, how are you right now? And I said, well, I think the worst part of the physical withdrawals are over, because once I got it all out of my system, I took a Subutex, and he goes, well, you're going to have to take that only as I prescribe. So, no more popping them, obviously.
No more on your own?
Yeah. So, which is once every 12 hours. So, that's the only medication I'm on now. He hasn't brought up anything else. But, so in the middle of this, it's so fun. I get Howard's intro to the book. And obviously, like, getting over the initial depression of missing Bob's road. And Saget left me 4 nice messages. I finally got it together to call him. He was like, I just hope you're okay. Don't worry, blah, blah, blah. So I called Bob, and I said, I'm sorry, really, and I got that done. But, again, Howard, I tried to tell you this on the phone. Your intro was so touching to me.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was like, the funny stuff was still funny, but like the serious stuff and the poignant stuff, it's like, we're guys, whatever. It was a lot of stuff maybe, you've never said out loud before. And I was just so inspired by it. Like, wow. And I showed it to the therapist, and he's like, wow. He goes, I'm not an enormous fan, but I know this is a very important guy. And for this guy to take this time out and clearly work this hard.
Why is everyone always not a big fan? You can't find
never get an enthusiastic person.
He's about 70.
Who, you say, oh, he's a sage, he's wise. I don't like him that much.
I don't like him, but this is pretty good.
He's no fan of mine either. Right? Not a big Mad TV guy.
Right.
He's about 70.
Right.
But
that's what I got out of the whole story.
Right.
But the therapist isn't a fan.
That's hilarious.
But go ahead. Yeah. So he felt
he
good
read
about
it, and he read it, and he goes, my God. He goes, first of all, it's such a brilliant piece of writing. Secondly, man, he goes, like, he said, there are tools that people use to stay sober. He goes, you should carry a copy of that and just read it whenever you feel like you need it. So I said that's probably like all this, like the fact that you said.
What if it turns out my forward gets people off of drugs?
Well, it might get me off.
Artie off of drugs.
Artie.
It would be brilliant.
No, and I let my mother and sister read it. They were so incredibly moved by it.
They said, "Who is he writing about?"
And then it's funny.
You know what? It's funny because when I wrote this thing, I read it to Beth first. I didn't want to read it. I just wanted to read it to her. And she's sitting there kind of with a blank look on her face, and I was like, "Gee,
really?
I can't get a vibe if she likes this forward or not."
It was so powerful. I mean, look, that's why.
Then when she proofread it, she said to me, "Oh my God, I love she just wasn't reacting."
She was really enthusiastic.
She goes, "No, I think Artie will really love it."
Oh my God, she was right. I mean, it just and the timing of it, like everything. I don't know, like Richard calling with this guy's number out of the blue.
Are you thinking like the fate just got together to save you now?
The guy in therapy goes, look, I'm not talking about religion, obviously. I'm talking about a spiritual sense that, whatever you can do, whatever's going to help you.
You got a higher power now?
I get that. If it moved you, then if you have it and you feel like you're slipping.
Howard's your higher power.
It might, maybe.
Hey,
he always was.
All right, thank you, man.
But
he prays to you now.
People now got to buy your book just to read forward.
It might get a lot lot of other people of their doldrums.
Well, they could go to Amazon.com and pre-order it. But I said to him, wouldn't it be funny if, like, records now, you could just download one song? Wouldn't it be funny if Jess Howard's intro makes the New York like, people could just
download the forward, not the rest of the chapter.
Only the forward becomes #1 on the New York Times.
You don't want to buy the whole album.
I'll take the forward in chapter 12.
Because I said that to you in the message. I said, God, the rest of the book, quite frankly, is not this good. And, I mean, it meant a million different things to me. First of all, it's going to make this project of my book a million times better. Secondly, it just came at such an incredible time.
Oh, that's great.
And I know how you believe it when you agree to do something, how paranoid you get about it. And all of his messages were like, God, I hope you like it. That's why I tried to call you a couple times to really make sure. Look, there's no gray area here.
Yeah, you loved it, and I was happy, and you make sure someone's happy. So let me ask you this. So now you've been off heroin for
8 days.
8 days.
8 days!
Well, what
do you love your sobriety?
I'm just loving my sobriety.
Wait a minute. Are you off everything, Artie?
What do you? I haven't had a drink or anything.
Nothing.
No Valium.
No. Well,
you didn't find a guy in the airport.
Hold on a second. I'm hearing
The goal here is to even completely stop booze. The goal here is to stop everything.
Right.
For at least a very long time.
That sounds like a little hole to me.
And I stopped shooting pool.
Good.
The money I can make shooting pool with the money I have now, it's not really making a dent.
And without getting too personal, what's going on in therapy now? We're going through trying to figure out the cause of all this.
Christ,
Are we looking for the root?
Yeah, I don't see the guy today. I see him tomorrow, and I got to call him on the phone today. I'm mad I'm not seeing him today.
Why are you not seeing him today?
It's his schedule. He's not in New York today. He does some in Jersey, but he's like 10 blocks from here.
Right.
And so at least 3 to 4 days we work, I'll be seeing him for a while.
That's nice. I'm really happy for you. I think maybe this is a good thing that's happened.
Well, yeah, that was the consensus. Everybody was saying they thought that maybe this was what Artie needed. Even if it meant missing the rose, publicly, showing that he has huge problems.
Does this mean you get Dana back? Because you are in therapy.
Well, I haven't talked to her yet about it, but she called, obviously, because my publicist said, we should put something somewhere just for a little damage control. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means, but he put something in page 6, and then I felt bad. Then I start feeling guilty I didn't give Howard 100 News.
Oh, Tim was furious.
I called
Tim called me. He goes, why would Artie's publicist press release to page 6? Why don't we get these? Then they have to write according to Howard 100 News.
So then I called Howard 100 News, and then Tim said, he goes, listen, why don't you? Because I called Shuley, and I said a lot of what I just said here, and then Tim, I think very wisely said, look, people know. He goes, why don't you just wait to put it in your words Monday on the show? So that's what Tim said, which I think
was wise.
Made sense. And then the other thing I did, though, was, and this really hurt, I gave up, the roast went the way it went, and I had to deal with the depression of missing out on that. Planning to really call and apologize to Joel Gallen and to the people at Comedy Central in person. But I also had a weekend of stand-up, a very lucrative gig. Very lucrative gig this past Saturday.
You mean Bob Levy's Comedy Club?
No.
Well, Bob, Friday, and then this gig at Foxwoods.
Some guy wrote me an email, said, tell Artie, thanks a lot for going into rehab when I finally was going to go to Foxwoods and see him.
Well, I'm going to, obviously the people at Foxwoods, thank you so much for being understanding, and I'm going to, reschedule that gig. But my therapist said the first day, he said, listen, no way you'd do that this weekend. Right. No way. He goes, and so I said, I called up my stand-up agent, and he couldn't have been cooler, and he said, look, I'll deal with it. And,
but you're actually taking advice. You're really...
Yeah, I never canceled a stand-up gig in my life. It's the first time I ever did that. And again, it was for quite a bit of money, and I was like, well, just... I'll deal with the consequences when I deal with them. And the harder call was to Levy, because if you remember, Levy,
Levy said his club was closed down.
I think you did all this to get out of that Levy game.
But Bob, to his credit, called me up. But again, Bob is always, he goes, yeah, man, okay, I'm happy for you. We'll deal with it. He goes, let's get sober together, man. He goes, hey, Friday night, you want to just go out and not drink or something?
Oh, God.
Fun.
I said, Bob, listen, I've seen you on the road lately, too, and I don't know, buddy.
You might not be the best influence.
Something else.
Well, Artie, I do wish that this new chapter in your life is successful. I apologize to the audience for yelling at them and telling them that Artie was not on the stuff.
No, but there were a lot of times
apologize to me, because a couple of times.
Yes, you said he was on. Did you say he was on it? Let's make sure.
There were a few times that I said, I think there are problems there, but this time I kept my mouth shut and just watched him nod. Well, every once in a while I'd interrupt the show and go, Artie, what are you doing? And he'd go, oh, nothing.
But there were,
I thought he was tired.
I was doing nothing. But there were times, though, there were times where I was not on it, is the point. When I slept here, and as a matter of fact, Howard does a real funny thing with pictures in the intro, and the 2 pictures where I'm sleeping in the intro is not
You're
from
really
heroin.
not on heroin.
You're just sleeping. Yeah.
No,
I told you.
Sleep.
It looked real to me.
I'm a tired 300-pound guy.
All right, Jack, you're on the air in Freehold, New Jersey. Now you've heard 1 hour of Artie and his saga.
All right. Well, hey now.
Hey now.
it does sound like fun and games. Maybe a little bit too much of the fun and games.
You think he's not taking this seriously?
I don't think you guys are taking it seriously enough.
Well, why should we?
Do? We do a comedy show.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's hard. What do you want them to do?
I want you a little less enabling, a little more teeth in censoring. I mean,
like what? Do you show us what we should do?
See, I think what the audience wants is an ultimatum from you guys. That's what they want.
I say a paddling.
Wait a minute.
His pants off, and then we just paddle him.
That's a good idea. Let him tell us what we're supposed to do.
If you had to stand here nude, you'd probably never do drugs again.
Never again.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you would.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know what? Robin's right. Heroin is good.
Guys, I think you're letting them off the hook. Artie, you need this.
Well, Artie's not
He didn't miss this show.
Yeah, right. I'm here. Well, okay, sir. That's an interesting point. What do you think is
tell
right?
us what to do, Jack, since you seem to know.
Well, it's not a matter of my knowing. It's a matter of
we're supposed to know.
Oh,
you're
Jack.
observing. Robin, you observed beautifully. You saw, you suspected. Howard, you let it slide a little bit too much, I think. Friendship is friendship. And I think...
Jack, honestly, I didn't...
What are we supposed to do right now?
I didn't know Artie was on anything.
I mean,
He doesn't even know Hardy's here half the time.
Right. I'm just trying to get through my morning show. And, Jack, I'll tell you another thing. I'm one of those people who subscribes to the belief that, Artie's a grown man. And he's always been able to do my show, and he comes to work. If he didn't come to work, they have a different problem.
There'd be a problem
But no, I don't even understand. I'm trying to learn from you. You seem to have some sort of thought.
The man seemed to be working on heroin.
Yeah.
Do you think
what would you have me do to him?
Do you think the future holds another setback?
Maybe.
It's too light. He's going again. Artie, you're going again.
He's got a therapist.
To do something.
Well, the new thing is this. I never liked the therapist like I like this guy. I blow him off after 2 visits. You know,
right,
so,
that's true.
Would there be more teeth in it in the future
what?
from your friends and staff if, in fact, there's a slide back? In other words, you love the show so much, would you be willing to risk a censuring by Howard and the crew if, in fact, you slide? It seems to me that there's
whoa. Let me ask you. You're suggesting that we punish Artie if he's
no
weak?
punishment. A company policy
or has a problem? I don't even. He's got a problem.
What do you think we should do? Should we be drug testing Artie?
And then let's say we find out he's taking drugs. What would we do? Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
It's like
to do a comedy show, you need to be drug tested.
Yeah, I'm not fixing airline brakes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when it would become my responsibility to teach Artie how to get off drugs.
I don't know if Sirius has a policy, but we don't.
And who needs that responsibility?
All right.
Sir, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot of companies who, have random but I'm not a cop. I mean, it's
he's not operating equipment.
He's not flying a plane here.
I understand it, and I will say this. I once said to a few people I was speaking to that, Howard, you're the teacher in the classroom.
No, he's not.
No,
you can
Jack.
say that all you want.
If I'm the teacher in the classroom, then get me out of this job.
I think Robin's the
I understand, but you have to...
I thought I was supposed to be the bad kid in the classroom.
He's the mess up, the misanthrope.
You are definitely the bad kid in the classroom because you start a lot of the action. Artie's a good counterpuncher, but you are the comedic genius there. There's no doubt about that. Counterpunching is one thing, but you've enabled the teacher's pet.
All right, well...
And that means you're the teacher...
No, I don't see it that way, Jack.
We didn't give Artie heroin.
Yeah, I know that your point of view is yours and you own it, but I disagree with it vehemently.
I would love to know what he's doing for the people at his job who have problems.
Well, nothing.
I can accept that. I just feel that sometimes things are set up in such a way that when you do, I mean,
the way we enabled Artie, he has a lot of money.
Let's say I found out that Artie, had some other strange habits. As long as he shows up for work, I'm okay with it.
What if he was a pedophile?
Well, that's different. If he's a pedophile, he's gone.
Listen, there's no way I'm letting the kids on my way.
All right, Jack, we understand your point of view, and you want me to do something.
But
all
one
right.
thing,
why don't you take care of Artie?
Just one other point.
You hire Artie.
You are very astute, and you do correct people with their English. But when Artie goes, Dana and me...
Yes, I know, but that's the Jersey in it.
You know the thing that gets me is when he says the withdrawals.
Yes.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
I'm sorry, guys. I mean, the grammar... let me work on the heroin problem, and I'll get on the grammar.
Everybody will be happy.
Every funny comedian, let me just mention really quickly that... Not quickly, I don't want to brush it aside, but a good friend of the show, Bernie Mac, died. And, you know, I was thinking about what I would say about Bernie Mac this morning on the air. And, in fact, the death of Isaac Hayes, which I will talk about.
Bad day for deep-voiced black guys.
Bernie Mac was a great comedian. And, you know, you talk about grammar. Here's a guy who spoke the language of the streets. The thing about Bernie Mac that made him so funny was his delivery.
Yes.
So, you know, Dana and Me or The Withdrawals or something, these are guys talking. They're not
colloquialisms.
Exactly. So, you know.
Talking like I talk. I don't. See, I'm not sitting here saying I'm I'm Mario Cuomo.
Right. You're not a great orator.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
you actually are a great orator.
In your own way. But Bernie Mac died, and Artie...
News, by the way. Man.
Yeah, news.
This was a complete, he's in the hospital for pneumonia. Go, oh, big deal. He'll be able to beat that.
Yeah.
50 years old. And from what I could tell, unless he was pulling a John Edwards on me, he was with the same woman since high school.
But he told us, he admitted in here, Howard, that he had strayed.
Yes.
In his life early on.
That was
he realized.
But he was on the straight and narrow,
up until...
Yeah, I guess.
One of his great quotes, he deserves a medal for this. He goes, I've been married 25 years. I got no outside kids.
Way to go. But, it's funny when you read about his death, and at the end his wife was there and his daughter was with him at his deathbed. And it says in the paper, his death brought to an end the 3-decade love affair between Bernie Mac and his wife, who he met as a teenager. When he met her, he said to her, girl, you better come on board this train because I'm going to be rich. That's how he got her. And he said, not only was she my wife, but she was my best friend. And there was something here where they describe him laying in bed.
I know the story.
I have it right here.
Okay.
And his wife of 30 years begged the 50-year-old entertainer as he lay dying in a Chicago hospital. She begged him, don't go.
What
not
happened
to die.
Howard, they had put him into a medical coma.
Right.
Because of his condition. And apparently, during this period of time, he sort of woke up and she looked at him and she said, I know you're tired, but please don't leave me.
Yeah, please don't leave me. And he said, my body's tired. My body's tired. So he was ready to go. Just remembering Bernie Mac real quick. Here is him just being Bernie Mac on stage during the Kings of Comedy movie, talking about smart-ass kids.
No, I can't believe the fucking kids. Everybody talking about kids. Everybody talking about how bad kids is. You know it's bad. But see, you can't say kids bad. I say it for you. It's bad. I will kid up. Don't get mad at me. I'm just saying what you can't say. You feel the same way out here. Kids are goddamn smart for me. Sassy, talking heads. Talk to the hand, talk to the hand. So I'm from the old school. I'll kick a kid ass. When a kid get 1 year old, I believe you got the right to hit him in the throat or the stomach. if you're grown enough to talk back, you're grown enough to get fucked up.
He was really good, man.
He was funny.
He was so funny.
Oh.
I love the routine where Bernie Mac would get on stage and start talking about the fact that he had to end up taking care of his sister's kids.
I got my sister's children living with me now. I'm about to go crazy like a motherfucker around here, See, my sister on drugs. I ain't ashamed to tell you. Some of your family up too around here. I ain't ashamed to tell you. But my brother called me, North Carolina. My brother said, Matt, you got to come home, man. The court gonna separate the kids. I said, no, I can't have that. I can't have that. I said, I'm gonna be there. Now, mind y'all, North Carolina, I know him, but I don't know him. You know what I'm talking about? I know the kid, but I don't know, 2, 4, and 6. Ooh, shit, come help me babysit. That 2-year-old, she the ringleader. This haven't been here before. She a shepherd for the devil. She worked for the devil.
He was good.
And he based his TV show on this routine.
Yeah, because it's true. He only had one child of his own, according to the paper, a daughter. And I guess he did take care of his sister's kids, and that's what the show was based on.
Yeah, so Bernie Mac, rest in peace. What a great comedian.
And, you know, Chris Rock was quoted as saying, it's like losing 12 people. Because not only was he a great comedian, he was a really good friend to people who really knew him. And he said when Bernie Mac was in a room, it was like having 12 people in the room because he just filled it up. And he's going to miss him terribly.
And I will add that whenever he'd walk into our studio, I didn't know him outside of the studio, but he knew I was a big fan, and that's when he started coming on the show. And he'd been on many times. And as his star kept rising, you know, don't forget he got his own TV show on Fox. He got then into the movies and Ocean's 11 or 13 or whatever the fuck it is.
How many ever numbers?
He was on all three of them.
You know, and he started to get tapped for a lot of different movie roles. Even Charlie's Angels, he became Charlie and all of this. And you know, this is a guy. It's true. I didn't know him as well probably as Chris Rock did, but when he would come on the show, you got excited. I mean, you knew there was a big talent walking in the room. And he very much, just the way he speaks, as you can see, he is not a guy who knows how to say everything grammatically the proper way, but he speaks in a way...
Probably was a Harvard professor.
Right, but he can... that delivery is fantastic. Take care.
Yeah,
They're making me crazy like...
Grammar's got nothing to do with comedy.
Nothing to do with it, so.
But, you know, people don't realize that before... That Kings of Comedy movie really put him on the map, but... He was one of those guys. He did the road since he was like 17. I mean, he was out there on road.
Oh, you don't even know how bad it was, Artie.
Yeah.
He wasn't making any money on the road.
Right.
And he used to work in the subway.
Yeah.
To make extra money to feed his family.
And unfortunately, success came later in life to him. And here he is at 50 years old, and I guess he had some sort of lung disease. Marianne from Brooklyn, you're on the air.
Welcome back, Howard. You touched my nerves about my father's died, and when you said his body was tired about Bernie Mac, I feel terrible. But Artie, I was calling about you, Artie. I came up there July 31st to come and confront you after you ragged on me and Pete about, you know, whatever. And I knew something was up, Artie. I heard your voice, and I knew you were back on heroin. And I think it's a shame that you would say to Howard, you know, you pick up on calls to provoke him. And I think you owe all of us a big fat-ass apology.
What? I don't understand what he's talking about.
I don't get that either. Dominic, you're on the air.
Well, two things.
You take that up with Marianne.
Right, yeah. You can call her later.
I guess. An apology.
What, Dominic?
He owes no one an apology.
Right.
I had a death experience this weekend, and I kind of thought about you after it was over. I was out on the water by myself.
Morning. How you doing today?
I've had better days.
So, what brings you down to the Howard Stern Show this morning?
A visit. Talk about being back in Morning Drive in New York.
Yeah, you got a new radio show, right?
Hopefully.
So excited to be here? Your first time?
Oh yeah, first time here.
What are you
wondered.
expecting?
What am I expecting? Same old Howard. Same old Howard. Right in your face. Obviously, not just serving your softballs that you can hit out of Yankee Stadium, but throwing right at your head.
And you're ready for that, right?
Oh, of course. Remember, I always tell a guy, either take me out now, 2 bullets to the back of my head, or I'll hit you so hard your mother will feel the vibrations. So I can be quite intimidating myself.
All right, sounds like it's going to be fun today.
It'll be down.
All right, we'll see you in there.
You got it.
I haven't seen Curtis Slewa in a long time. I'm a big admirer of his, starting the Guardian Angels. And he is here. He just started his own Morning Drive radio show.
Yeah, so how can he be here if he's supposed to be on the air?
That's a good first question. Curtis, aren't you supposed to be on the air? How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Although I've had better days.
Why? What happened today?
I noticed, SWA, Robin, you shot me a glare. You were eye-fornicating me there. I mean, sister with attitude. I thought I was going to get some love. And
No, I had to get back in. I just said hi, Curtis. And
I don't know,
in.
Howard. I didn't feel the love there. I did not feel the love.
From Robin, of all people.
No, there was a little bit of that coldness.
We have history. Come on. Curtis and I have spoken on the phone from time to time, and I want to talk about this radio career, because we haven't spoken on the air in years. And you've just gotten a new job, which I'm happy to see that you got. You like doing radio. You like doing morning radio specifically. And you were displaced by Imus. So we have a lot to talk about, because
you were doing well where you were.
But I want to set up for people, the reason I admire Curtis, forget about the morning radio thing for a second. When you started the Guardian Angels, and I am a big fan of the Guardian Angels, because as someone who took the subways for years, it's a scary place. It really is. And if you don't know how to handle yourself down there, it is dangerous. And I'm a mark. I mean, you look at me and you say, there's a guy I could rob. So whenever I would see a Guardian Angel sitting on that subway car with me, I felt safe. And I thank you for that. But what people don't know is you were working at McDonald's, and the way the Guardian Angels got started was that it was you and a bunch of buddies from McDonald's who decided to go patrol the subways. Which is a very...
Why did you do that? I mean, what
was the drive there?
Impetus. What caused that?
Well, I was a night manager at Mickey D's in the Bronx.
Right.
But I was living in Brooklyn, which had been renamed Crooklyn. So 2, 3 in the morning, I'd have to take the number 4 train, which was called the Muggers Express, back to Brownsville, Brooklyn, where I was living.
Right.
And let me tell you, every miscreant, every enemy of society would be walking up and down those trains looking for someone like you, Howard Stern, their milk money.
I am the poster boy of what they're looking for.
Right, but then they'd see me, because I'd sit in the back car on purpose, which is where all the homeboys roll whenever they want to be lighting up, smoking, doing graffiti, robbing, thugging up. They always move to the last car. So I'd sit there with my McDonald's jacket on. You know, my jockstrap even had that M on it.
Before you had the beret and the whole uniform.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'd be reading a copy of the Daily News or the Post that day. And, you know, it's almost like their antennae would go up. So a lot of times they'd be singing doo-wop a cappella as they'd be coming through the trains. You'd say, oh, this is great, subway, street music, culture in the city. And then they'd be eyeballing everybody, right? And they'd be singing, Manhattan makes it and Brooklyn takes it. And they'd be looking at me as if I was Ray Kroc.
Yeah, you're Manhattan,
Did you, when you first started, you know, doing this, just going down and sitting on the subway, did you get into physical altercation?
Oh, yeah, because
you would stand up.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a street guy, so I'd already know, if they sucker punch me, if they yoke me, it's over. So I'd launch a preemptive strike. I'd thump them up.
Really? Is that true?
Oh, yeah, I'd thump them up, and then the police would show up like a half hour later, you know, donut pounders that they were, waiting for the fresh buttermilk twist to come out of the oven at Dunkin' Donuts. And they'd see 2 guys on the floor, but they'd see me in a jacket and a tie, and they'd say, oh, you undercover, you 5-0? I said, no, I'm a night manager at Mickey D's. I've just made a citizen's arrest. And they'd say, what the hell are you talking about? There's no such thing. That's a vigilante act. What are you trying to be, Charles Bronson?
So you became the bad guy in a sense. Cops don't like you, do they?
No, they arrested me 76 times.
It's
But that was pre-93.
Right.
Because then when Rudy Giuliani became mayor in the city of New York, he said, hey, no more static, no more grief for the Guardian Angels. He said, you got to work with them the way you would with a block watch or a crime watch. And then that translated to cities across America and now around the world, because we're in 14 countries, 140 cities, and rarely do we get grief.
So every subway has this problem.
Yeah, oh yeah. How many members do you have now in the Guardian Angels? Have things, you know, you don't read as much about the Guardian Angels. Are there still a lot of recruits?
Yeah, there's 5,000.
5,000.
We just opened up in Seoul, Korea.
Oh.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it's not just Samsung and Ki there. It's thuggery.
And it's still a no-pay kind of position. You put on the beret and you go and you fight, essentially.
Well, you volunteer. You go down there. You're obviously a target. 6 Guardian Angels have been shot and killed, 3 dozen seriously injured. As you know, I was shot up in the summer of '92. So you take a risk. But now that we have cooperation...
Talk to me for a second about your shooting.
Oh.
Because I was upset about that. Mm. And the thing that upset me is you were doing a morning radio show on WABC Radio.
Yes.
It was you and Ron Kuby.
No. At that time, it was my wife, Lisa.
Right.
That was the partner on the radio that I had to sleep with.
Right.
Because I was not going to be sleeping with Ron Kuby, although his hair was actually longer than Lisa's was.
But the show that became successful on WABC in the morning was Ron Kuby and Curtis Lewa.
That is correct.
And you essentially had a falling out with your on-air partner because, and I don't blame you for being upset, He didn't stick by. You were shot. You accused John Gotti Jr. of being behind it. We all have read about it in the paper. But Ron Kuby didn't seem to take your side in this thing. And that, to me, is the most offensive thing. Like, you just could not get him to shut up about this. You were shot how many times?
Well, 5 hollow point bullets aerated my lower extremities.
It's a miracle you're alive.
And let me describe it biologically.
Yeah.
It's not the knife, the spoon, and the fork. You know, it's your 3-piece set.
You got shot in your genitals.
Oh, man, they were trying to send a message to me. And then, not only that, they had stole a yellow cab because they knew I would take a yellow cab to go to the radio station to do the morning show at WABC at the time. So this guy, little Nick Carrazzo, who I grew up with, who I had beef with since I was just a young little whippersnapper, he gets the contract. He goes, oh, Slee was going to fight. There's no way. We could shoot him once, shoot him. He'll still be fighting. It's exactly what I ended up doing in the back of the cab. But they sawed off the handles in the back of the cab, then reattached them. So as I dove for the door, figure I'll jump out in the speeding traffic, you know, take my chance being a speed bump. They knew I'd try to jump out the door, and when I grabbed the handle, pow, I got shot a third time, and the handle came right off in my hands.
Where were you specifically hit?
I was hitting the lower set, the legs, the 3-piece set,
Do you still
the upper body.
Is your penis working still?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Really?
Depends on how angry I am.
So it's no, but wait a second, it's no joke. I mean, you didn't have full recovery, did you?
Everything, all the internal plumbing had to be reversed.
Wow.
So when I sit on the Porcelain Palace, I curse John Gotti Sr. and John Gotti Jr.'s name, and that other disgrazia, that putana, Victoria Gotti and her 3 little dons who live out in Long Island still.
Describe your injury for me for a second, because I'm not even understanding.
Sure.
When you say you sit down and you pee, it hurts. Your penis is there. I mean, it's intact, right?
Oh, it's intact, but I had a colostomy bag, an intestinal bag, a colon bag, and then I had to go for reverse surgery. And that's worse than the initial surgery that saves your life, because you know you're going to have that surgery.
Right. And
then it takes months for you to get any feeling back.
Miracle you're alive. And
Absolutely.
And you say the shooting ruined your second marriage.
Yeah.
After Lisa, your first wife, what was a beautiful
No. First wife was his sister, remember?
Right. Is this how many times have you been married?
3. I'm a serial marrier.
So your first wife was the sister when you were working at Mickey D's.
That was Corinne.
Then you met Lisa. You married her. I thought you guys would be together for life. It seemed like you were the perfect match.
That was shocking when that fell apart.
Yeah, how did that fall apart, by the way?
Never do a talk radio program with your wife.
Is that true?
Is that what you not? Because remember, you never talk about these things in the house. You never talk. You're having breakfast, you're visiting relatives, you're by yourself. You never talk. All of a sudden, you're talking about issues, and you say, damn, I never thought you thought that way. And naturally,
is that really true, or is it a little more dynamic than that?
No, because it would get very personal, because you want to share personal experiences, which I don't mind sharing.
Beautiful woman.
Oh, absolutely.
And now she's become a legitimate news reporter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not dead gorgeous and good in the streets. So she is the street reporter for Channel 5, the local Fox affiliate.
Is she remarried?
I have no idea. I haven't spoken to her.
You don't speak? You're not friends? So it was really angry?
I wouldn't say it was angry.
It's just no point.
But I wanted reconciliation. You know, I'm old school. I figure, wait a second. We've been 11 years together. She wanted no reconciliation. So I said, no reconciliation. It's time to move on. So I slept on a park bench in Central Park. You know, it was like a hot rack with other guys who also got tossed to the curb. Then fell in love again and got married. Did the right thing. You fall in love with a woman you're supposed to marry. I just heard your conversation.
Yes.
In which no marriage, you know, don't get married. Hey, I'm old school.
If you're feeling like you're going to run around, we're saying don't get married.
So these injuries, after you get shot, and I was upset about this. I mean, you're a good guy. You certainly have donated a lot of your life and time, and you've been very courageous. I mean, you talk about being down on the subway. How many times do you think you've been in an altercation defending somebody?
Oh, hundreds.
Hundreds?
Hundreds.
How many guys have you fought at one time on a subway?
About 5.
5 guys at once?
They got the best of me.
They did?
Oh, they deuced me up. They gave me a beat down. I got to tell you, a therapeutic back massage. I was sucking concrete.
When you watch these shows like like Spike's Ultimate Fighting or something like that, do you laugh at that in a way because you have really done Ultimate Fighting in the subways? That's the real Ultimate Fighting.
Howard and Robert, I never laugh at anyone who gets in the ring. Because I've been in the ring and I've had my bell rung. You don't realize you get hit one time.
That's
your brain, you actually feel your brain falling. And you're like, all of a sudden, you can't get control of your mental and physical faculties, even if you don't do well in the ring. Because I didn't do all that well in the ring.
Right.
But to be brave enough to go in there, to know you're going to get hit. It's not just you're going to hit. You're going to get hit. Takes a lot of machismo.
Why were you unafraid, in a sense? I know there's a thing in me. I get scared of being hit. I've been hit. I've been punched in the face. It's horrible. And yet you would go down and take these guys on. Do you think there's something sort of missing with you, like a fear gene or something? I mean, you're not really that afraid, are you?
Let me ask you a question, Howard. Everyone in talk radio is crazy.
Right.
At some point.
Yes.
And I was just crazier before I got a microphone because I would actually seek to go down into the subway while others would escape. Imagine you're sitting in the back car knowing that's the troubled car, and you're sitting there with your McDonald's suit on knowing they're going to roll back and try to vic you up, and you're just ready for them.
It's sort of Charles Bronson-ish, you know, to go looking for it.
But you never brought a gun down.
No weapons. And I, after I got shot up by the Gottis and Gambinos, right away the police said, hey, you've been attacked twice by them. They beat you with baseball bats, broke your wrist, broke your elbow, cracked the back of your head. Maybe it's time you get a permit. I said, look, I lead a group in which we don't permit people to carry weapons. How can I be an example to them? I don't deny Americans the right to have a weapon. I know many of them who need it. But it just wasn't for me.
How is it that, I mean, is it cause you great distress? You have blamed the Gottis for your troubles. They went and had a trial. He's beaten the rap 4 times or something like that. Is this like something that keeps you up at night?
Oh, I'm obsessed with it. This is a blood feud, a vendetta, because it goes way back. He grew up in Canarsie, blocks away from me. The guy who shot me on his orders, who's doing 20 years for shooting me, he went to the same PS 114 that I went to. Little Nick Carrazzo, who planned it. He grew up around my area. I had fights with him and his family all growing up. And
why do you think these guys were angry with you? What was the feud?
What did you do to them?
Oh, this goes way back to when I was growing up in Canarsie, Brooklyn, and I would stand up to the wise guys, these geriatric...
You were that well known back then?
Yeah, because a lot of these young guys, many of them who have done time now in prison for killing people, for robbing, for raping, for just being marauders, enemies of society. I would play stickball with boxball, stoopball. These are all games in New York City, and I was quite good at it, and I had their respect. And then I would see these geriatric espresso-sipping psychotic killers of organized crime talk to these young men and wean them into a life of crime.
Why do you think you didn't take up a life of crime? You're certainly brave. You've hung around with that element. You grew up with all these guys. What was it? Did you have a mother that kind of led you down the right path? Or?
My mom, my dad. My dad was a merchant seaman, so he was away most of the time. But it was my grandfather, Fidel Bianchino. See, people say, well, you're a part Italian? Sliwa, what kind of name is that? It's a Polish name.
That's right.
But on my mom's side, she's Bade's Italian, and my grandfather would stand up to these mugs, these skells. He was 80. He was 85.
You admired that.
He would tell me, walk with me. He had cataracts. He had hardening of the arteries. Take me to the 69th precinct. I'm going to rat them now. I'm going to eat the Parmesan cheese. The sergeant at the desk would say, Pops, you don't want to do that. These guys will bend your leg and stuff it in your pocket. He says, hey, you have no culiones. You're not a man's man if you're going to literally fold like a cheap camera. And these cops would look at my grandfather, Fidel Bianchino, as if he was a crazy man.
Did you have martial arts training, or did you just fight a lot, and that's how you learned how to fight?
No. Early on, I had martial arts training. I had experience similar to you. My dad did not want me to go to parochial school. My mom did. But my father said he is not going to the parochial schools in Canarsie. He's not going to St. Matthew's. He's not, Our Lady of Miracles, St. Jude's, Holy Family. He's not going with these Jadruls, these supreme cuisines that we live in. He sent me to Crown Heights on the B-17 bus.
He wanted you to be tough.
I was the only white kid in that class.
You fought.
No, not in the school. It was a Catholic school.
Right.
But down the block, Schenectady Avenue, the public school got out 15 minutes early.
Oh.
Do you think that's fair, though? Do you think that's fair your parents did that to you? And don't give me too much macho stuff here now. Tell me the truth. Actually, is that fair?
Growing up in Canarsie, I would have grown up a racist. Because, remember, you call blacks moulignons, eggplants.
Right.
But by going to Crown Heights, by getting thumped by these black kids, but then seeing other black kids take my back.
Right.
Then I began to realize, no, there's good and bad in everyone.
Right.
Because the Italians I grew up with, the supreme cuisines, many of my cousins were total degenerates. They would make pejorative remarks about blacks. They'd say you have nothing to do with them. And so by being integrated early on, where I was the minority, mention the only white kid in that class, and then the blacks coming from the public school who knew that they could take your sneakers, they could take your money, they could play with you, they could beat you up, and nothing would happen to them.
So fast forward for me.
Yes.
You become a radio host.
Yes.
You start out with Lisa, that falls apart, and then Kubi and you take over the WABC morning show.
Yes.
And you guys, lo and behold, get pretty good ratings.
Oh, yeah.
Very good ratings.
Yeah.
AM radio is not easy to do in the morning, and Kubi is more, you're more right-wing, he's more left-wing. It's kind of a good balance, and you go back and forth, and you're doing well and making money for the station.
Yes.
And lo and behold, your partner, this guy Kubi, didn't stand up for you. Explain that to me. In other words, after you'd been shot, he had the balls to say to you, you're wrong. That's not. You don't know who went after you.
Oh, no question.
Well, he's a defense attorney, right?
Yeah, but
come on.
He didn't have to go to court and testify on behalf of John Gotti Jr. against him.
He testified. That did it, right? Was that the end of the team?
Yeah. And the fake, phony, fraudulent defense was, yes, up until 1999. And remember, I got shot in 92, attacked with the bats in 92. Up until 1999, his defense, liar for hire, said, oh, he was the worst. You know, he was a member of the Gambino crime family. He was an underboss. He was a capo. And yes, he may have done many of the things he's being accused of. But in 1999, he had the stigmata. He had an epiphany. He retired from the Gambino crime family.
Okay, but take me back to your on-air partner, because this is something I can't find.
This is what he testified to.
Right.
He said, absolutely. I was in the room when I and John Gotti Jr. had a conversation where he told me he was retiring from organized crime.
So here's my question. Why do you think your on-air partner did that to you? Had you guys developed a friendship? Did you eat dinner together? Did you guys, get something of a...
He was the man of honor at my wedding.
He was the man of honor at your wedding.
We socialized.
Did you say to him, why did you...
How could you?
He didn't have to testify. In other words...
Yeah, he didn't have to be in it at all.
In other words, he volunteered to testify against you. Why do you think he disliked...
He claimed he got a subpoena. Everybody gets a subpoena. Even I was testifying for my own. You get a subpoena to come testify. But he also knew who shot me. He knew how it happened. He never volunteered that information.
Really?
So that hurt you.
Not only hurt me, but then he justified this withdrawal defense by saying he and John Gotti Jr. had a private hush-hush, mush-mush conversation in 1999 when John Gotti Jr. swore to him he was leaving organized crime. Every skell and mutt who gets out of jail, what's the first thing they say? I'm never coming back here. I'm giving up crime. They're back like 72 hours later.
But so Kubi and you break up.
Yes.
And you've never spoken to him since, I imagine.
No, I had to continue to do radio programs with him in the morning.
Did you want to kill him?
Now I'm looking at 8 years, and you know how difficult it is, particularly morning drive. It's like the gladiators.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, nah, I just got to suck it up. We do good radio. It doesn't come across on the radio, but I hated every second that I was in that studio with him. Hated it. And then one day, after Fareed Suleiman and Citadel purchased WABC as part of his buy from Disney.
He's the head of the company, yeah.
Right. A year later, after he had purchased, the rumors started coming out that Imus might be that cadaverine formaldehyde. They might find the jumper cables on a Delco battery, put it to his jawbone, and revive him, resuscitate
Before you
him.
go to Imus, because you know I'm interested in this, because I like to have somebody corroborate my impression of the man.
Yeah, he claims to have changed so much.
Were you able to discuss on the air what was going on internally with you? Say, hey, guys who listen to this show, I hate Ron Kubi.
Oh, yeah, I loathed, I despised, I detested
And you said that on the air.
Oh, and we battled about that.
Yeah?
No question. And he said point blank.
And when you got off the air for the morning,
yes,
you didn't talk to each other, you didn't look at each other.
Not at all.
You were fuming.
I would have killed him.
Did he ever try to apologize to you? Did he ever try to say to you, listen, let's work this out?
Never. In fact, he said to me, both in private and on the air, Curtis, you got to learn this is not about you. What do you mean not about me? I get attacked with baseball bats the first time by these 3 jadruls, these 3 muscleheads. I get shot up, 5 hollow point bullets, aerate my lower intestines. I'm lucky to have survived that. It's not about me. You're supposed to be Mr. First Amendment, freedom of speech, say whatever. I'm attacking the Gottis and the Gambinos on air. And you think this is Sicily, Baghdad, Kabul, where you get killed for what you say?
Wow.
And you see, the problem is he's represented the Gambino crime family. He's represented Gotti, so his loyalties were questionable.
If you saw Ron Kubi being mugged in a subway, would you step in and stop it?
Oh, no, I'd assist.
You would assist it. All right, so now go on. This is a fascinating story to me. So here you are doing well on AM radio for WABC.
Yes.
Imus has his controversy. He's fired from WFAN. And let's make the point. Weren't you and your partner, Kubi, beating Imus in the ratings all the time Imus was on the air?
Whipping him.
And I can certainly tell people that's true, because don't think I didn't watch the ratings. Being on in the morning, Curtis beat Imus on a regular basis.
And even management, when they replaced us, acknowledged, oh, no, Sliwa and Kubi's ratings were much better than Imus.
So Imus goes on the air, he makes the crack about the black basketball team. They fire him. He loses his TV show. And then you begin to hear rumors some months later that they're going to hire Imus and replace you guys. That's a big kick in the fucking pants, isn't it?
Oh, no question. But because he was run out by Al Slim Shady Sharpton, you know, the self-anointed decider of what is racist and not racist.
Right.
And then he bucked and bowed to Al Slim Shady Sharpton, Imus did. He kissed the pinky ring in his fat tookus. But I went on TV.
Bad move, right?
I went on TV.
Go ahead.
And I defended Imus. I said, look, I don't like the guy, I don't like his program, but he has a right to say what he said and not be run out by the likes of Al Slim Shady Sharpton.
Absolutely. Now, I worked with Imus, I don't know how many years ago now. I worked with him in 1981. He was the big hotshot morning guy. I came in as the afternoon guy. You know the history. You know, you certainly know me a lot of years. And Robin and I, one of the things that we behind the scenes now I'm talking, not on the air. Behind the scenes, I saw him walk up to his secretary and call her a nigger, right to her face. She was in tears. And Robin and I both looked at each other, and I said to management, how the hell you allow this thing to go on? This is outrageous. And everybody turned sort of away from it. After all, he's Imus, he's making money for us, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, and I was an asshole for bringing it up. And I have said over the years about Imus that, A, I don't consider him a great talent. I'm not being arrogant. Just the way I think. That's the way I think. But also, the other thing that really aggravates me is this ranch he started.
Yes.
I believe this ranch was his summer home, and somehow he came up with this cockamamie thing where the listeners end up contributing money and they bought all the land around it and everything. I don't buy it for a fucking minute. I don't believe Imus has got a genuine good bone in his body. That's how I feel about the guy. So let's talk about your experiences. Let's see if I'm on target. I want to know. So, okay. They announce over at WABC they're replacing you with the Imus show.
But you know how that's done in the business. They execute you right away.
Yeah.
They don't let you be tortured in the wind. They kept us on the morning show for 3 months. A month later, after announcing that Imus would be returning 2 years ago in December, they took Ron Kubi like the mob did Fredo, remember?
Yeah, they took him in a rowboat.
They took him in a rowboat in the middle of the lake, put 2 bullets to the back of the head, came back.
Never see him again.
And I said, where's Ron?
Right.
He's dead. He's dead. There's nothing you can do. He's fired.
So they didn't even discuss this with you ahead of time. Ron was gone.
Ron was gone.
And here, on one hand, you're probably happy because you couldn't stand the guy. But on the other hand, you're like, hey, wait a second.
But that was wrong.
Right.
You don't do it that way.
And you know if they're doing that to him, what's going to happen to you?
Oh, exactly. So now it's December, and I pass the baton off to Imus. I'm expecting there will at least be a phone call from the Wizard of Oz.
Sure.
Because, you know, he's got layers of protection.
Yeah.
God forbid you actually be able to look at the guy because he's falling apart as he shuffles down the hallway. This guy is like...
it's scary.
AARP twice.
Yeah.
He needs to drink Geritol and take a Bengay bath.
You are so right. I was going for a run in Central Park. I'm walking, and all of a sudden I see a giant, like, cowboy with big hat and the sunglasses and everything. And listen, Imus and I go back a bunch of years, and I see him. We see each other, and we shook hands and said hello. That was it. But I was like, how does a guy walk around Manhattan dressed as a giant cowboy? And he looked like he was gonna, he looked like my Tante Helen. He looked like an old bubby. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Like almost like an old woman. He looks horrible.
I call it a cadaver in formaldehyde.
Right.
But here it is. You would have thought he would have picked up the phone, or even through any of his sycophants, toadies, and lackeys. Hey, Curtis, that was a stand-up thing you did. You covered my back. You fought the battle against Al Slim Shady Sharpton. I was feckless. I was weak. I was kissing his pinky ring and buying a civil rights insurance policy. Right. You know damn well Sharpton got greased on that because when Imus came back, you notice Al Slim Shady Sharpton disappeared. Right. You know, when Sharpton is quiet, that means somebody has greased him with dead presidents.
You think that?
I believe that.
Absolutely. Yes, I can buy that.
So who do you think pays him? Like, if he was paid off, we don't know that. But let's say he who does that?
Hey, he's a civil rights leader. He's got a National Action Hate Network he's got to support. He lives in the Plaza Hotel. He's rolling dough. He's top shelf 5-star. How do you live a life like that and you don't have a job?
You always hear him say, we will be looking into that. And when there is no big protest, obviously something happened.
Yeah, but, Robin, these hustlers, they sell you a civil rights insurance policy.
I know.
You pay them under the table because naturally the IRS is not supposed to know about it. And when you have a problem, they're there at your beck and call.
So you have said, I'll just bring up a couple of things. You not only dislike Imus, I guess it started with the fact that he didn't say to you, hey, good luck in whatever you do.
Or thank you for the support or anything. Yeah.
Does it bother you now that consistently he gets lower ratings than what you had at WABC?
Completely. He's like off the map. But probably what bothers me most is, for 18 years, I was WABC. ABC stood for Always Broadcasting Curtis. And I knew all the people behind the scenes who make it possible. First of all, the salesmen, saleswomen, they live on commission now. They don't get salary. I don't think people realize that's the toughest job in radio.
Hardest job. Yeah. I've always said that the toughest job in radio is sales. And these guys work their ass off. And you always owe them. That's what we're there for. We're there to make money for the company, and these guys go out and hustle their ass off. They're good people. I noticed, though, that a lot of radio people are very hostile to the sales department.
Well, this is what happens, Howard, because I was a new jack to radio. First day at WABC, it's like, my God, Nirvana. It's like Mecca and Medina for broadcasters.
Sure.
I'm doing morning drive, and the first thing the program director tells me is, don't have anything to do with the vermin over there, because they will rob you of programming time. They're going to try to steal every minute that you broadcast to put a commercial on. For me, I married a sales manager, at the time Mary Galda, who had worked at not only PLJ, WABC, she had been the sales manager at KISS, worked for CNN, and I would see her at times cry at night. I said, what's wrong, Mary? She goes, I worked, weekends I spent at this, I had to schmooze the clients, I had to cover up for what some of the hosts were not doing because they weren't servicing the client. But there's no connection. Nobody ever teaches you, and this is my philosophy, no ticky, no washy, no talkie. If you can't sell, if you can't get out there and market products, because what I do is commercial radio, then you don't deserve to get a microphone.
Can I tell you something? I think the reason that I appreciate the sales department, when I was at WNBC, for example, they said to me, Howard, we can't sell your show. It's impossible. We can't make any money with it. Then I met Mel Karmazin. He hired me over at K-Rock, and I was sold out. Every spot taken. And I was so grateful because I wouldn't have a career. If no one would advertise on my show, I'd have no career. And NBC almost drummed me out of the business, not because of my ratings, because they couldn't sell the damn show. Here's a guy who could sell the show. I was sold out constantly. I said, thank God for this guy. And thank God for the sales department. But there is a disconnect in broadcasting, and on-air talent doesn't appreciate that effort for some reason.
They diss him and dismiss him.
Well, on-air talent isn't appreciated by management. It just goes all the way down. You're not appreciated as a talent. Talent doesn't appreciate the sales. It's just like, that's how radio is an industry that eats itself.
So the arrogance of Imus disturbed you. You didn't like to see him treating salespeople.
The way he treated these people. And then I went up to Boston because I was at now at night doing a syndicated talk show across America, WTKK, great FM station. They took Imus in the morning. He goes up there. He's supposed to do a personal appearance with salespeople. The management asked me, "Please, Curtis, come up. You can do your live remote from here." He's going to diss our sponsors, our advertisers. They want to see Imus.
Right.
Show up, nice hotel, big spread. Imus refuses to come down out of his hotel room. There's 70 people there. They don't want to see Curtis Lee. Well, they like Curtis Lee, but they're there to see Imus. Right. Again, a smack in the face.
It's embarrassing to management.
Then the next day, they rent out this great old theater right near the Commons, downtown Boston. And he threatens to shoot their host, their afternoon drive time host, Jay Severin, on the stage, causes them major embarrassment, bad headlines. Then he packs up, he leaves town.
Right.
And now they took 2 hours away from him. He's only on like from 5 to 7 in the morning there, and I'll bet you the moment they can break the contract, he won't be there. He's not on a Citadel station in Washington, D.C. Imagine, his own company took him off the air.
Well, he's not getting the ratings.
And now, but he is so despicable and vile to sales, to sponsors, to advertisers.
To all human beings.
How do you claim this, by the way? I'm curious about this, because it seems like you know the inner workings of Imus's operation. Yeah. You claim that Imus is really impaired. His producer, Bernard McGurk, basically runs the whole show. You say Bernard writes most of what Imus says, even.
Yep.
And Imus is lost without Bernard. Is it that bad? Is he that crotchety?
It should be the Bernard McGurk show.
Really?
Now, I don't necessarily like Bernard.
Right.
I fornicate one another. It's sort of like Jets and Sharks, you know.
Yeah.
We hate each other.
Yeah.
But Bernard McGurk does work hard. He's there mornings, he's there nights.
Does Imus treat him well?
Treats him horribly. He treats all his staff. They are terrified of Imus.
Even the news guy,
Charles?
McCord? He's terrified.
They're all terrified. For instance, Warner Wolf. Does it get any better than having Warner Wolf? Let's go to the videotape.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times you hear in the exchanges, you know, when the commercials play, dissing and dismissing, hollering, cursing, belittling, humiliating his staff, and then they're frightened of him.
Why does he humiliate them if they do everything for him? When something goes wrong, he humiliates them, or
the slightest thing can throw this guy off, and he'll never take the responsibility or impale himself. You know, I feel like saying you should take a crucifix and impale yourself on that. You are so lucky. You've been so blessed. You have been so self-destructive. Without Bernard McGurk, you can't function. You can't talk. You can't ask questions.
So maybe that's why he's angry, because he's so vulnerable. He can't even function without
Why
this
not
guy.
Just let Bernard McGurk do the show?
Right.
Why not let him
Bernard
do the
McGurk
show?
is basically Imus, is what you're saying.
It's like a ventriloquist.
The real Imus.
He's like a puppet with a ventriloquist.
He talks to all the guests. When Imus disses a guest, he mollifies. He is his peacetime consigliere, because he's got to make peace with everyone that Imus has burnt.
Well, maybe he shouldn't be so proud. That show doesn't get a lot of ratings. Let's be honest.
No, but
maybe
to be honest,
it would do better if the real Imus was sitting there.
Maybe they ought to get a new puppeteer.
I remember there was this young lady, Jamie, who worked for us. Really great. In fact, she was such a hard worker. She was running for the New Jersey Transit train in Leave It to Beaverland, Father Knows Best, Little House on the Prairie. She fell in between the door and the station platform. Her leg was stuck between both.
Ooh.
She extricated herself and came to work.
Wow.
Is that dedication of work?
That's a good girl.
This guy humiliated her off air.
Why?
She virtually had a mental breakdown in the newsroom.
Why? For what reason?
Something so innocuous, so ridiculous.
You say when you were at ABC, you saw him yelling at interns till they cried.
Oh. Yeah,
Interns. People who work for free.
Yeah, they don't even get a
didn't matter.
You know, when you were working at McDonald's, if someone told you one day you'd have people, interns, helping you out,
for free.
And sponsors, and hotel rooms filled with food, you would have thought you died and went to heaven.
The only thing equal to this is if I could have replaced Mickey Mantle in center field in Yankee Stadium. Yeah. I would pay to be able to broadcast at times because people were listening to you. I used to talk to myself while feeding the pigeons in the park. I used to stare at myself in the bathroom.
So now that someone was listening to you, you were amazed.
Now they're listening to me. They're paying me money, and they're patting me so hard on the back, I got to go for a chiropractic adjustment the next day.
What would you tell the pigeons when you were talking to them? The same kind of stuff? Or
all kinds of nonsense. I'd say, could you believe... And the pigeons would look at me and say, hey, just keep feeding me the Progresso breadcrumbs.
Were you kidding when you said, because I'm fascinated by this and I have to ask you, because if we were talking privately on the phone, I would ask you all this. Are you saying, and I don't know if this is a joke, that Imus breathes oxygen from a mask between sentences on the air?
At times.
At times.
And you know, I don't know what the extent...
Why does that make me feel good?
I don't know what the extent...
We love that.
Right, of his bronchial problem is.
I know he had a collapsed lung.
He had a couple of collapsed lungs.
Right, but it's like, you notice the football player has just returned a punt 50 yards, and he's sucking up oxygen on the bench.
Is it time for him to hang it up?
Oh, totally.
It is, right? I mean,
go to the ranch and hang it up. Ride your horses around the ranch.
Yeah. You say the only person who sort of keeps him in line is this wife that he met on the air.
Oh, Deidre.
The
only time I ever saw them together was at Boston.
Okay.
No.
He's on the stage. Deidre comes in. Pleasant to me. But it seemed like she was a dominatrix with him. Right. He might as well have had the ball gag in his mouth and really been down on all fours. Oh, my God. And then she goes on about all these products, these green products. Yeah, she does like a 15-minute commercial, and you know sales, they get no commission on that.
Right.
And half the stuff is crazy stuff. It would be like, for people who are in New York, listening to WBAI late at night, conspiratorial radio.
Right.
And this is prime time on a major commercial station.
Well, he's got to listen. I guess if he wants to get laid, that's
whatever
how
it's Or she just stays there and takes care of him.
You're saying he should stand up to her a little bit and say, listen, honey, not a 15-minute infomercial.
Notice, he didn't stand up to Al Slim Shady Sharpton. His career was on the line.
Right.
Today, if it's black, he will not go on the attack.
Yeah.
Anything but, they're right. They're right. They call me,
it's a whole new guy.
Say, right.
Yeah.
He can't attack, like the President of the United States, who, remember, wanted him fired, Barack Obama, when he was a Senator.
Right.
He can't diss him.
Right.
Anything black is great. He'll have Dick Gregory there, who's also sucking oxygen. Any black who will come on with him.
What happened to those 2 black people he hired when he...
Oh, those were his training wheels. Yeah. That was his civil rights protection.
Do they...
Are they still there?
No, they got rid of that gal. The moment he was insulated, they got rid of her. And the guy he has there now, nice guy, Staten Island, came up, they used to teach in school, but they use him as step and fetch now.
Right.
It's humiliating.
When he has Dick Gregory on, do they share oxygen tanks, or do they bring in their own separate oxygen?
Let me tell you, I think there's blood doping going on there. For those 2 guys to be able to get through 15 minutes of a program.
So you feel it was a ruse, in other words, to hire black people to... Would you ever go and kiss the ring of Al Sharpton, no matter how bad things get? Wouldn't you just rather get out of the business?
What does Al Sharpton have to do with anything?
Right. It's crazy.
Absolutely not. I would take that microphone and I would swallow it and suffocate my own self before having to buck or bow to Al Slim Shady Sharpton.
Because you know there's always going to be a way for Curtis Lewa to make a buck. You don't have to sit there and bow. You could, if worse came to worse, you'll go to McDonald's and be the night manager.
Exactly. If I gotta make Max fries and strawberry shakes, I'll do that. Now, the interesting thing is, in September 30th, my contract was up with Citadel.
Right.
WABC. Great management there. Steve Borneman, the general manager, Lori Cantilla. They wanted to keep me there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they did everything they could.
All right.
Problem is, they're going bankrupt. So I would say to them, if I sign this contract, if it's a prepackaged bankruptcy, this is what Farida's talking about in the press, this could be null and void.
Absolutely.
And they said that's a possibility.
And now you are at a new radio station.
Yes.
Called The Apple?
The Apple. 970 a.m. Empire State Building. It's me and King Kong.
970 a.m. Yes. And you're on in the morning, and I would assume, are happy because now you can at least be credited with your ratings. You can take on Imus. You can do this kind of thing. Is 970 a.m. a good signal? It's
not as powerful as where I was, WABC, because that's the granddaddy of signals, or WR. But we rode the Garden State Parkway, which covers a huge radius.
Right.
From New York through New Jersey down to the Jersey Shore, even where they filmed Jersey Shore.
Right.
It's a pretty good signal.
Yeah.
You can catch the vibe in the morning. So, you see, I've got scores to settle.
Are you doing your own thing now? You don't have a partner?
You don't have a partner.
Told I'll never do radio with a partner again.
It's not for you.
I mean, you and Robin, you've clicked.
Right.
There's chemistry.
It's weird to find that, though. It's hard.
With me, it's been ammonia and bleach.
Right.
First with my wife, Lisa, it led to the divorce.
Yeah.
And then with Ron Kuby, he's defended terrorists, Gotti's, Gambinos. We put all that aside. But when he, disgrazia, that traditor, testified against me for that degenerate John Gotti Jr., it was over.
Yeah.
Do you, I'm a radio guy, so I'm thinking maybe a commercial for you where it says, Curtis Lewa, he can do 4 hours without an oxygen tank. That's it. I mean, that says it all, right?
And I don't need a Bernard McGurk to call every shot. I don't need a shot call.
You don't have anybody sitting there putting words in your mouth.
You know, I hope, because you have such a huge, vast audience, and it's not just, people who have no say.
Right.
You have shot callers listen to you. You know, as much as I don't like Bernard McGurk, give him his shot.
At least he's working.
He deserves it. Mm-hmm. He does that program. Imus cannot survive without him. Give that guy the opportunity to do his own show.
How much longer can Imus live, even? I mean, at that age and that state of decrepitness, if there's such a word.
Decrepitude.
I think he does an MJ. I think the moment the program is over,
they anesthetize him?
They take him in the wheelchair, they put him in the stretch limo, and MJ, the Michael Jackson, the oxygen chamber. I truly believe this guy's in an oxygen chamber. And he must sleep like 14, 16 hours a day.
Like the Crypt Keeper.
Like a lizard.
That's right. Like a lizard. It's absolutely true.
And talking about something that was on the air at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, he said, I was asleep already. It's like, my God.
When you speak out now, when you say things about, organized crime, and this, aren't you afraid a little bit when you say these kind of things?
I've never been afraid.
Oh, targeted. There's no question.
Yeah, I'm afraid all the time. I don't say anything.
I was just thinking, we're letting him sit here and say all these things.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe any of it. I want to go on the record. Leave me alone.
These are the views of our guests.
That's not us. We don't know a thing.
Howard, I've always taken on thugs and gangsters, whether they're organized crime, the Gattis and Gambinos, Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, you name it, any wannabe group that emerges. Because in so many cities, the moment I arrive in town, it's like high noon. They want to face off with me.
You know who I take on? Amputees. No one can touch me. At least 2 legs gone. So when you go, let's just put your life in perspective.
Yeah.
The most dangerous, most horrible moment in your life got to be being in the back of a cab getting shot at. I mean, to me, that's about as bad as it gets. And then when you wake up from this, I don't know how many hours you were in a coma from it.
Yeah, when do you learn what's happened to you?
And you learn what happened. I mean, it is devastating. You look down and you see your body bandaged, and they tell you.
That wasn't the worst of it. 72 hours later, after going through intense surgery at Bellevue by Dr. Leon Pachter, who grew up in Canarsie, he used to be the milk money for these Jadruls. They used to pick on him.
Yeah.
So he said, I had an added incentive to save your life. It was payback to these guys.
How close did you come to dying?
Very close. And very close to being paralyzed because one bullet just missed the spine by 1/4 of an inch. So I wake up 72 hours later, you're in intensive care. And I know, Robin, you were a nurse. Mm-hmm. So, that's like a meat locker.
Yeah.
They've got a tube in every orifice of my body. Some orifices had 2, 3 stuffed in there where there was no room to move.
And some, they make new holes so that they can put things in.
And you're attached to all this machinery. So I wake up, the bells and whistles, it's cold, I'm freezing. I lift my head, and the first person I see is the former Mayor Ed Koch. I thought I died and went to hell without an asbestos suit. Because he had been my enemy.
Yes.
Right.
He had vilified the Guardian Angels as vigilantes, as Hell's Angels. He was there. I looked over. There was Cardinal O'Connor. Cardinal O'Connor was giving me, for Catholics who know, extreme unction.
No kidding.
Last
right.
rites.
Yeah.
No kidding.
He didn't realize, that I was still able to function. And then there was Lisa there. Lisa saw me wake up, and I think in her mind she said, I'd love to shove another tube in some other part of your body.
She really hated
all
you.
the pain. No, I gave her a lot of pain and anger. She was a great gal.
Oh, my God.
Not that I would want to do this, but if I looked at your penis and balls, would it look like penis and balls?
You need an electron microscope and red dye.
Why? I mean, because of the shooting.
Well, put it this way. The angle is not at the proper dangle.
No kidding.
Yeah. No, you suffer damage. Remember, hollow point bullets, Howard. It's not just getting shot with bullets.
They spread.
They shred you. They shred your insides. Oh. You're never the same. You're never the same. You're never the same. That's why.
And you're not kidding when you say sex is not as easy for you because your penis isn't the same.
Just sitting on the porcelain palace, just doing what we all normally do is so excruciatingly painful.
This would be the major focus of my life. Like
You'd never be able to work past that.
No, I wouldn't. I would be so bitter and angry that I don't even think I could function.
But does the little blue pill help?
Oh,
nothing.
Viagra?
No.
Nothing.
Now,
but you have a kid,
popped,
right? You have a kid.
I have little Anthony Chester.
So you were able to procreate.
You find a will, there's a way. A will and there's a way.
Seriously, no joking. I mean, that's horrible.
It is, but I'll tell you this much. Being in the back of that cab, getting shot over and over again, knowing that the driver, obviously was in on the plot, which I was oblivious to, and then you get out of there after they've already sawed off the handles. I was able to jump out a window.
Miracle.
And then survive that. So I'm truly blessed.
I can't imagine what that was like for you. Listen, you got to check out Curtis Lewa's Morning Drive Show beginning this Monday morning from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Apple, 970 a.m. in New York. He's out there doing it. I'm glad you're doing it. As a fellow broadcaster, I love your honesty.
Can I give props to Howard?
Certainly.
Right at that time when Imus took over, WABC would not release me I was going to be doing WOR's morning show. WABC had a no-compete, and they said, we don't care. You ain't going nowhere, even if you're broadcasting 2 in the morning. Do you know he did an intervention for me? He was my wartime and peacetime consigliere.
Really?
He spent a long time calming me down, because you know how hostile I get.
Yeah.
He says, you'll go to court, and they will bankrupt you. You'll ruin. You'll win the war, but you will lose so many battles, it won't be worth it. And I took your advice, Howard. Thank you. You were the only one to reach out to me.
Well, I felt bad for what happened to you, and it was genuine.
He's had a lot of...
I've had a lot of experience in this area, and listen, I'm just glad it worked out for you.
Yes.
You're a good guy. You're a good soul, and you've given a lot to this community.
You know, there's something you haven't said about Curtis. He has a sister who was one of the oldest women ever to conceive and give birth.
Is that right?
Oh, she's a homeopathic, holistic practitioner. She actually got my legs back because I had no feeling in my legs. So through shiatsu, reflexology, right in Bellevue Hospital. And then at 57, she said, there's one thing I want in life, a child. And she is now America's oldest woman to have brought twins into the world.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Alita St. James.
Is she exhausted?
Let me tell you something. She has been to hell and back again. But she even told me the other night, she said, look, it's the greatest thing I've ever done. I wanted this experience. And I got to tell you, she went through so much pain and suffering. But she's got 2 beautiful children.
Will you send your child, your son, to an all-black school?
Absolutely.
You will?
In fact, I take them on the subways. Every Sunday that I'm in the city, that I'm not traveling on behalf of the Guardian Angels, we ride the trains. New York Times did a great piece on it.
Robin, call social services immediately.
That's how we learned the alphabet, and that's how we learned numbers.
Wow.
It's too crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't know if I could handle that.
Listen, I love this city.
Keeps taking me on these crazy, scary trains.
My dad's scared. You know, I'd rather go on the scariest ride at Disneyland. That's wild stuff.
Space Mountain is nothing.
How many muggings do you think you've stopped in your life?
Oh, hundreds.
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 Personally?
Yeah. Well, myself and with groups of Guardian Angels.
Wow.
And oftentimes, just a quick eye fornication will freeze these enemies of society, these cretins with chromosome damage right in their tracks.
Show no weakness, is that what you're saying? Show no weakness.
And even though with the radio success and everything else, you're still doing that. You go out every once in a while.
I love to thump thugs.
You just still do it. And even after you've been shot and you have all these problems down there.
Listen, I have so much aggression. Forget anger management. That Sean Puff Daddy Combs 1 hour anger. My anger management... Show me a thug out there who just abused a woman, who snatched a pocketbook, who took advantage of somebody whose paycheck they took, who had basically they don't get to live if they don't pay their bills. And I get so much joy, so much nachas out of thumping those thugs.
At what age will your son stop? Has he stopped a mugging yet?
No, not yet.
When are we going to get?
He's got to get the Guardian Angel jacket, though.
It's time.
It's time. How old is he now again?
He's 6.
6 is. This is it. This is when he's got to get in there.
He's got to man up, soldier up.
That's right. Well, listen. Check out Curtis Lewa's Morning Drive Show beginning this Monday morning from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Apple 970 a.m. in New York. And for more information, you can always attend CurtisLewa.com. There's always action going on there.
Oh,
all kinds of things.
Check out those videos.
That's right.
And by the way, I'm feeling the love now, Robin. It's a little ice breaking.
She didn't have a problem with you. She's a sucker for a man in a beret.
Well, wait a minute.
By the way, I saw Curtis the other day at the Knick game.
Oh, yeah?
And that beret sticks out. You see Curtis. I waved to you. You didn't see me.
You're surrounded by all your sickle fans, Tony's and lackeys. See, you had the biggest entourage of anyone there.
One person, my wife.
Oh, come on. During the breaks, the crowd was surging around.
Those were just fans.
Yeah, Baba Booey every 5 seconds over the intercom.
There was a lot of Baba Booey going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was very exciting. All right, listen. You've said enough. You probably, as I always say, have said too much.
Too much.
That's right. By the way, those people around me at the Knick game were muggers. I thought you would jump in, but you just sat there like a lox. All right, listen, Curtis Lewa, good luck. And also, for more about Curtis, CurtisLewa.com. Thanks, Curtis, for coming by. And good luck with the radio show. And I'm glad you're feeling okay.
Time to thump Imus.
Yeah.
He's oxygen-free.
How much would that take?
Let's see you do it. When's it going to... I mean, I don't think it'll take you long.
You're talking about on the radio.
No,
I don't know, somewhere.
If I rob one of those oxygen bottles, right?
Yeah.
And it's just air in there, he won't even make it through the show.
We'll be back right after these words.
Curtis, how'd it go there today?
Oh, it was great. It was a love fest. At first, I got the cold shoulder from Robin.
What was going on?
Oh, man, I felt the SWA, the Sister with Attitude, was giving me major attitude with a capital A, but that melted down, that iceberg.
What did you do to make her change her mind?
I confronted her right from the jump street. If you notice, I went right at her.
It seems like that's all you have to do. You have to confront people.
Well, that's what I do my entire life. It's a preemptive strike. I don't wait for you to thump me. I thump you so that if you need a bit of a readjustment, an attitudinal readjustment, you get it real quick.
You think kind of that's what like Howard does with his guests? He's up front with them.
Well, they know he's going to come right at them. But oftentimes they act like they're surprised because, remember, nobody else has ever talked to them in that manner. But it's very disarming. So if you can disarm somebody, then once they relax with you, once they realize you're a real person, then it's a lot easier to extricate stuff from. So it's not just a 30-second soundbite.
We'll say, you had a good time today?
Well, I had a great time on top of the world. I got the tactical air support to take down the Iron from the #1 broadcaster in all of radio, Howard Stern.
All right, thanks for stopping.
This is the best of the wrap-up show. A recap and behind-the-scenes look with John High and Gary Dell'Abate. The best of the wrap-up show begins now.
Hey, it's Sal Governale, and on Monday's wrap-up show, we talked about John Hine's daughter's bat mitzvah. A lot of people said that my wife had a bad time and she was miserable. I disagree. But we did get a great prank off on Gary Baba Booey Dell'Abate. So, check out the shenanigans.
I guess one of the main topics today was the bat mitzvah that I threw for my daughter. Thank you guys all for coming. I hope you all had a wonderful time.
Awesome.
Did everybody have a good time?
Is my mom really that hot?
Well, we'll get to that later. But, I mean, when you're in that moment, I really couldn't tell. But it seems like with the feedback, it's weird because this is a strange dynamic with the show. I talked to a couple people. They said they had fun. And all I'm thinking is, okay, I'm going to learn the truth Monday when the show comes around because then you find out how people really felt.
Yeah, but it seems like any of the goofing around that was done had nothing to do with the party itself, people at the party.
Right.
And I think that, that you're well liked around here. Not that people are being phony, but I think that if you're not as well liked, people tend to pry a little deeper. But I think everybody had a great time.
So you're saying it's more of an opportunity to attack and nitpick?
Yeah, oh, yeah. I think if it's my party, then Sal's looking for more stuff to goof on.
Right.
If it's your party, Sal comes with a notebook and a reporter's journal. And
exactly.
He's spending the entire party writing shit.
It wasn't my party, and Sal practically did that.
Well, I was going to say, Sal had plenty of time to goof on you. It seemed like he was watching you the entire party. There's those pictures of you eating, pulling the plug on the Jet game. It was all about pranking Gary, apparently.
He has no interest in his life. So he's created this whole other life.
I mean, did he spend the entire party messing with you?
I mean, I don't know, but we can goof on Sal all we want. But the truth of the matter is, you could look at the party as an opportunity to reconnect with your wife, which is something that you guys went
I have it for the rest of my life.
Something that you guys went to therapy for. Let's throw the jokes out for a second. You guys went to therapy. You sat on the couch and you cried. You wanted to reconnect with your wife. So these are the kinds of things, especially I know when you have kids. If you can get an afternoon out or a night out without the kids, that's a great time to reconnect. And you pulled the plug on her that afternoon as well.
I don't know. The plug's been pulled a long time ago.
But what happened? You guys were
the body's been buried.
But you guys were like a year ago. It was like I realized that I wasn't paying enough attention, and we're gonna get better.
We do get along. I think we are so confident with each other that we have the ability to stay away.
Don't tell me some shit stock.
I'm not. It's not shit stock. I think we have the ability to stay away from one another and have the confidence that that bond is there.
Does everybody see that bond?
Well, there's a difference between letting someone else...
You can't see the bond. It's in your heart.
Well, Sal, there's a difference between letting somebody else do their own thing and avoiding each other.
We weren't avoiding each other.
Well, that's my question, because today I heard that, Christine was miserable during the party and didn't have a,
every time I see her, she must be real good, because every time I see her, at least I see her smiling. But the odd thing is...
Oh, no, she was smiling.
Oh, my God.
The odd thing is, when I observe pictures... Every picture of her in the background is with her arms crossed.
Yeah.
She looks like she just smelled somebody's bad fart or something like that. Like she always looks annoyed and pissed off.
She looks like she's sitting next to a steaming pile of shit.
Oh, thank you. You were sitting next to her, Gary?
No, I'm saying that's what she looks like she smells.
I know, and it's just like this, whoa, what just happened? She looks annoyed. She looks like she's in a waiting room at the Department of Motor Vehicles.
But we see that too.
And I don't see that.
That's kind of what she looked like.
Yeah.
And I went over and talked to her because she looked like Genesis. At one point, my wife goes, Christine doesn't look like she's having a good time, and then no one was talking to her, so I went and talked to her. But she said, I asked her, and she said she was having a good time.
I could have sworn she was having a great time.
Maybe she was. Maybe she doesn't look like she's having fun.
But here's the funny thing, though. This is where I sincerely get nervous for you.
Right.
She has that look on, and then I'll go over, and then that look goes away.
Right.
If somebody else goes to talk to her, she seems perfectly happy. She's not in a bad mood.
Right. I don't know. I think she's the typical woman. I think deep down inside, a bottle of piss and vinegar, and then as soon as somebody comes along, it's like, boop, they can flick that switch and be the happy person.
Whoa. I don't understand that. What do you mean by a typical woman?
Well, you ever get
Did you think every woman at the party had their arms crossed?
Excuse me. Thank you, John. Not a typical woman at all. A typical wife that's gone through the trenches of marriage. And, you ever get into an argument with your wife and she's screaming at you like a fucking hyena, and all of a sudden the phone rings like, hi, Diane, yeah, okay, let's go to Target.
That's true.
Not a problem. Okay, yeah, oh, that's wonderful. Hangs up the phone. So listen, asshole, like I was fucking saying. So I try to question, is she happy and yelling at me, or is she miserable and putting on a facade for her girlfriends on the phone? I don't know. I just think that, I don't know, but based on the pictures don't lie. She always has that angry, like, get me the hell out of here look. But when I do turn my head and I do make contact with her, like you did, Gary, she looks happy.
Yeah, it's like a vampire. You could never really photograph it.
Exactly.
Well, as the party...
Except she's always bleeding.
Yeah, I mean, you spent a lot of...
No, it
makes sense.
You spent a lot... Doesn't matter, Jason. You spent a lot of...
Period, Jason.
You spent a lot of time goofing on Gary, taping him eat, pulling the plug on the Jet game. You're having a great time. Are you checking to see what Christine's doing, or you're assuming that she's okay, I'm just going to do my own thing?
Well, I made it clear in the car. I said, look, let's find out if there's a remote control for the TVs. And she's like, why? Because Richard was.
But do you pawn this off to her? I know. But do you pawn this off as work? Like, is the rap? Do you go like, listen, Christine, I have to do this to Gary, or does she just know that that's you and that you have to do it?
We got in the car. I picked up Richard, and we talked about you watching the Jets game. And I go, I gotta find a remote. So I just turned to her and everybody in the car. I go, look, Christine, let's look for a remote. And she just arms crossed, yeah. She just yeses me, and that's basically it. But no, I'm certainly not on a mission. I went to this party. I had a great time. I loved seeing everybody. But we knew at the end you were going to watch the Jets game, and we wanted to be in the other room at the bar and change the channels on you. And once we found out there was none, the DJ told me, there was about 8 cables plugged in behind that TV, because there was a photo booth and the DJ booth, and he goes, the orange one. So there was this big bright orange one, and it came right out. It was great.
Glad your DJ's concentrating on throwing a good bat mitzvah.
Well, I wasn't aware that this plan was premeditated. I thought this was sort of a spur-of-the-moment thing.
Well, the premeditation was the remote control. If we could have changed the channels from another room, it would have been great, because we would have went back and forth.
The premeditation was ruining the Jets game for Gary.
So wait, John, did you know about it? I know you didn't know it was premeditated that far, but did you know before it happened?
Yeah, DJ. One of the guys who worked for the Jets came up to me and said, Sal's going to pull the plug on Gary. Are you okay with that? And I thought he was talking about the corner TV.
Right.
So I said, sure, because I knew the TV was on the other screens. I didn't know Sal was going to do it for every screen in the place as long as he did.
Well, since Gary was oblivious and moved to screen number 2, I mean, the right thing to do would be obviously go there and pull the plug on that also.
There's another dynamic that we didn't play the video. I guess they're going to put it up on Howard TV, but everyone has to watch it. It's hilarious. But even more weird than Sal is Richard's the one holding the camera.
Oh my God, laughing
like
just
hear him laughing like a loon. Like, I don't even know when he breathes. All you hear is this constant.
He laughs like it's very De Niro in Cape Fear. Like he overlaughs. Like everything is like it's very cartoonish.
Yeah, and he's like, this is the greatest thing ever.
When he laughs, to me, there's no better way of confirming something being funny when Richard laughs that hard. I think I take it as a compliment.
Can I tell you, by the way, should I tell the story about what my son did to me? Because I think Richard and Sal are having an effect on my kids. So
taking pictures while you're eating?
No, this is so funny. But I really think that these guys pranks. I tell them the pranks. So I own that Sonos system. Right, and the Sonos system has a remote control,
right?
And there's different zones, and you can control volume and change channels. So I got the new system, and I put it up in Jackson's room, and I hook it up, and I listen to it. Everything's going fine, And then all of a sudden, it starts to get really loud. So I make it go low, and it gets loud again. And Mary goes, "What's going on?" And Mary's like, "You know, electronics, sometimes you can't control. It's all over the place." So then I turn it off, and then it goes back on again, but it's like some really loud electronics music channel. And I go, "What the fuck?" And so I turn it off again. I walk out of the room. Mary's like, "If this thing's going to go on in the middle of the night," so I lower it, and I can't for the life of me figure out what's going on. So finally, I unplug it. And when I do, Lucas is in the closet with a different remote.
On Tuesday's wrap-up show, we talked about Ashley Dupre. Hope that's how you say one of them right. And how good she looked. At least that how I thought she looked good and she's hot. And then I asked her out and stuff. And that's what we talked about. So you can watch us talk about it.
I do want to get to today's. Well, let's start with the second guest first, since we have JD here, and that was Ashley Dupre. And well, first of all, Gary, how do you think she looked today?
I thought she looked really good, but I think some of the guys were a little disappointed. I think she's very cute, but she doesn't look like the girl in the pictures. I think people expected, she's trying to change her image. So she came in fairly conservatively. I didn't love her hairdo today, and she was dressed conservatively. I think
she
guys
looked like she was about to testify in front of Congress.
Yeah, I think guys were looking for
She looks like a cute, Italian Jewish girl. Like if she interned, she would say, "Oh, that's a really pretty girl," but it wouldn't be like, "Oh my God."
No, I think you'd be, not the first day, but the second day after you
maybe
looked
her
at
body and stuff.
If you looked at her ass, you'd be, "Oh my God."
I think JD may disagree with you guys on this.
Well, listen, I've seen her interviewed on these other shows, so I knew I knew she would dress conservative. I didn't expect
her clothology.
I didn't expect her to dress, like she was on the job or whatnot.
But I think there are some of the guys, I got on the intercom from the guys at TV, and they go, "How disappointing is it?" But I think they were looking for this vixen to show up, and that's just not what she's doing right now.
I mean, considering that she was afraid to come on the show in the first place, the fact that she showed up at all was pretty amazing. So, however she's dressed is great.
What did you guys think of the way she described you had to be completely emotionally disconnected to do the job that she did well? I mean, is it possible? And then two, Howard later asked, could you ever fall in love with a guy based on what you've done in your career?
I think you have to be emotionally disconnected if you could have sex with strangers that are gross and older than you. No, I'm just saying. That's what Howard was saying.
Getting offended here.
The guys were older, and some of them weren't good looking. And she said, "Hey, I look for the good in anybody."
Right.
I think Benji used to do that rap. If she's got a cute knee or something.
Look for the good in me.
Look for the good in any woman. But I think you have to be. I mean, she even admits that you can't be emotionally healthy to be able to pull that off.
When she talked about sort of what happened with her and Spitzer will stay with her and Spitzer, and she has some kind of code, did you respect that in any way, or was it just that's the way things should be?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, she said she wasn't going to talk about what happened, and
Well, she's not going to talk about what happened now. Do you really think that code is going to continue? I mean,
well, you know what?
Time goes on, money gets a little bit bigger in the pot sometimes.
But she's been here. This is my view of it. She's been broke since day one, right?
Right.
Day one, she had to go live with her family, get broke. She's been broke, and every day she doesn't tell the story, I think it's worth a little less.
Yeah, I think
that's true.
And so she has, and I have to say...
But I also think she's holding out hope that, some other aspect of her career is going to kick in. If she's to reveal that part of her life right now, that's going to try and take away maybe from any success in that area.
Right. But I give her credit for one thing. She came on the show today because she's a fan of the show, and she really was promoting almost nothing. She was promoting the blog that she does for the New York Post, which pays her practically nothing.
Right.
So... She really came here just because she wanted to talk to Howard. She didn't get a lot out of today, except that maybe she's trying to change her image.
That she definitely is trying to do. There's no doubt about that.
So what people could say, "Oh, she's such a whore because she." But
she's a person. It's like she. I mean, it's a weird world nowadays. It's like person like that. Rachel Yucatel. I mean, it's becoming less uncommon for those types of people to exist.
Yes, JD.
Oh, I
see she's hot.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's going around these shows to try and change her image. She's, probably working on her music, and she wants. This is sort of like the pre whatever for doing her thing. You're
the pre what?
The pre, get out there, try and change the image, and then do your thing, and then that way it's less. You have to talk about the past. You can talk about the present and future.
The pre-promotion.
The pre-promotion, yeah.
The preamble.
Something like that, yeah. That sort of thing.
Okay, let's go to the phones. We'll
She's
talk.
hot, John.
I know you're spellbound today.
I'm spellbound by a lot, too.
No. You're particularly spellbound by this one.
I don't know. Yeah, and you know what? I don't know why, but
I got to ask JD a question. You've got such a crush on this girl. Doesn't that kind of ruin it for you? The reality of life. Last time I was on the show, we were talking about the girls that you're after and the girls that you like, the girls that you don't like, the ones you reject, etc. Doesn't this kind of ruin any chance of regular girls being a part of your life?
Listen, first of all, the reality of life crushes me every day. but no, listen, I like all sorts of girls. I like regular girls too. I like all. Listen, and
but the fact that she's kind of famous and kind of hot, I mean, that kind of makes it more intriguing, no?
Of course, but I do like regular girls and stuff too. I like a lot of girls.
She's also the kind of girl that if you date, a lot of regular girls will want no part of you anymore.
Well, that's their problem. I don't know. What do you want from me?
I don't know. Tiger Woods didn't suffer from that.
That's true.
Well, I'm far from Tiger Woods.
Stand Tiger on his money. He gets very tall.
Well, JD did come in and give it a shot. Here's a little bit of that.
JD. Ask her out.
I don't.
Oh boy.
I don't. I don't know what type of guys you're into or whatever. I would take you out to a date or something. You know what? I don't know.
Boy, JD, that was smooth.
You are. You know what?
I'm much better through
You're
Facebook.
very charming. She just ran out of here into Governor Spitzer's arms. That's it.
You know,
but
maybe
go
we
ahead.
can go get hot chocolate.
Okay.
If you like.
Well, whatever.
That'd be fine.
That's fine.
So it ended up with maybe a hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And hearing yourself do that now, what'd you think?
Oh, I sound like a total asshole. I hate how I sound.
Was that from the confidence pills? Is that what made you
That
so?
was from nothing. That was from Richard putting up a fucking note like an asshole.
But you asked. You went for it.
Well, what are you gonna do? I can't stand there and say
But and you totally have an opening now.
Yeah, you know what? There was an opening. Whatever. I took the opportunity, I guess, to see what would happen, and
And she'll probably play for the hot chocolate too, man.
Now, Gary, does he try to get in touch? Does he wait? How should he play this?
Well, I'm going to email her back. I was just in the middle of writing her when I had to come over and do the picture and do the wrap-up show. So she needed a couple of autographed pictures for some friends, and she had a question about something. And I'm going to email her back and see how serious she is. I'm trying to help him out.
Are we going to try to make it a camera thing or not a camera thing?
No, I think I let him just go. I let JD go do his thing.
I did give her my card. And I was on camera.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I gave her my card and I wrote my cell phone. And I said this on the air. And I wrote my cell phone number on the back. And I made the joke that, some of people have called this the greatest gift of all, my cell phone number. And
did she do the laugh?
Oh, she laughed. She thought it was funny. She said she liked it, actually. And I said, yeah.
You could take it to see Clockwork Orange?
I'll take any girl that wants to see well, not any girl, but a girl I'm attracted to that wants to see Clockwork
How about
Orange.
Avatar and some anal?
Hey, it's Gary Dell'Abate, Baba Booey. On Wednesday's wrap-up show, we talked about legendary comedian Gilbert Gottfried. And he's legendary because he's funny, but he's also legendary about how cheap he is. And I had a couple of really good stories because I've known him for a long time. He is one of the cheapest people I've ever met. And he's an oddball, and we talked about that. Here's what we said.
Now, Gilbert Gottfried, since we'll change it up a little bit.
Go.
What was his swag bag leaving today? What free shit did he get today? I always love hearing this list.
We don't have free stuff. Did he take cupcakes? I was going to say it's Cupcake Wednesday, so he might have taken. How many did he take?
I just saw him at the elevator. He has a chair with him.
Jim McClure, what did he take?
Worse than taking a cupcake, he picked one up, stuck his finger in the frosting, licked it, decided he didn't like it, put it back, then picked up another one, put that one back. Then picked up the original one, spit on it, and put it back on there. So he's just going through them all.
Great.
Any bottles of water?
And then he took a shit on the cupcakes.
I think he did end up walking out with at least one cupcake and maybe some water.
I saw that he had 3 bottles of water with him when he was on the couch.
Why is he like that?
It's a disease. I was joking with him during the break. We were talking about his kids, and he was talking. I said, "Are you going to leave them that that collection of Arsenio Hall robes, because we joked around that every time you do a show, you get a going away package, which is usually like a robe and stuff. And most people how many robes can you use? So you give them away, you throw them away. Gilbert, somebody told me that he had in his apartment one of those like a bakery cake rack with all of the gift baskets he'd gotten from every show he'd ever been on.
That's classic Gilbert. Did you like him today, David?
Gilbert is always funny when he does his Dracula, and he's doing that new, sounds like a Western. It's funny.
Yeah, we love Gilbert when he comes on. Thank you for calling in. Let's go to Zach in Massachusetts. Zach, you're on the wrap-up show.
Hey, guys. I love Gilbert as well. He's my favorite guest of all time, and I imagine a lot of other people's. During the history of Howard Stern, Howard mentioned that Gary had several stories about Gilbert just being notoriously cheap, like legendary stories. I'd love to hear some of those.
Well, the one that we've told a lot of times, but I never get tired of telling, was I had dated a girl, and then we'd broken up, and she'd end up going out on a date with Gilbert. So they agreed to meet for coffee at this. There's a place in New York called The Coffee Shop. So they agreed to meet for coffee, and she said Gilbert got up to go to the bathroom. They met like in the afternoon. They each had a cup of coffee. So the bill came, and Gilbert was in the bathroom, and she waited. It's like a first date. And she waited, and she waited, and she waited, and finally it got so uncomfortably long, she just looked at the bill. It was like $5 and change. She paid the bill, because the waiter came back like 4 times. With a tip, she said the waiter picked it up, and Gilbert miraculously appeared out of the bathroom, never said a word about the bill, and they left. And she never went out with him again because he was cheap.
Oh, man, he's great.
And the other thing is, Stuttering John told me he had done a couple of gigs with Gilbert, and they went out to L.A., and they were in first class, and Gilbert took the syrup packages from everybody, and he collected them and took them. You know, the unopened syrup.
Does he not have money, or is it
just tons of money?
Just a psychosis?
I think it's a psychosis. Gilbert's got plenty of money. I think he's still in the apartment he's been in for years. He probably could afford to live somewhere else. Now that he's married with kids, I'm sure his wife must be making him crazy. She must be like, Gilbert, we need to paint these walls that haven't been painted in 40 years, or maybe we need to get furniture. And that must make him crazy.
Or more space for child 1 and child 2.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You got it, Zach. Now, can you ever get a real answer out of Gilbert about anything?
No.
On air, off air, anytime?
Yeah, I mean, I've hung out with him off the air a bunch of times at a variety of different events, and you can get more of Gilbert, but he's very private. He doesn't like to give much up.
Is he truly unaffected by anyone in his life, whether it's in showbiz or...
For me, the thing that really weirded me out about Gilbert today was the story about how he left his kids alone in the house, and... That can happen, okay? It never happened to me. I'm going to say, okay, that can happen. I'll give him that. But he did. It wasn't like, oh, my God, I was so scared, or oh, my God, I ran home. He's like, yeah, I left him home.
Yeah, but and also when you say that can happen
It really
if,
can.
like, God forbid, your mom is dying downstairs and you have to go run outside to help her out. I think he said he went to go to the bank.
Yeah, and get a cup of coffee. So
and now they're 2.5 and 8 months old, he said, right?
Yeah,
so they must have been, it was sometime before this.
Yeah, sometime between birth and 8 months, he left one of those kids home alone.
In the care of 2.5-year-old or younger.
Do you think he's a doting dad?
No, I don't.
Not at all?
I think he's a dad. I think he's there. I think they know who he is, but I don't think he's doting. Do you?
No.
Yeah.
Ed in Belmont, you're on the wrap-up show.
Hello?
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you? I feel the opposite. I think Gilbert absolutely sucked. Howard walked him through that freaking whole interview. The guy said, he sucks. I don't know why you guys love this guy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we get a lot. We get, not a lot, but we get some people that don't like Gilbert. I thought today he was particularly good. Today was one of his funnier appearances that he's had in a while. And, I guess he's like an acquired taste, and I've acquired him.
Just maybe during the news, but that interview, I mean, you tell me Howard didn't walk him through that? It's like his first time on the show.
Well, what do you mean walk him through?
I mean, Howard asked him every question. The guy's a fucking idiot.
But that's Gilbert. I mean,
I agree.
We know what we're getting, and we know, like you're not going to say, "Hey, Gilbert, so what's new at home?" And he's going to go, "Oh my God, I got to tell you this great story." You have to beat it out of Gilbert, but then he's funny for the news too, and that's what we get.
That's part of Gilbert's charm, Ed, but apparently you don't find it very charming.
I see your point.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks for calling in, Ed from Belmont, New York.
See you at the Belmont Steaks.
When you were in the green room with Gilbert, and I guess you were talking to somebody else about what was going on with Artie, he didn't ask, he didn't even react to it at all?
Yeah, I was sort of getting ready to figure out how I would answer. The question just didn't come.
He's just totally unfazed?
Well, he just didn't ask. I mean, I unfazed would be... listen, I didn't go, oh my God, did you hear what happened to Artie? Artie's name came up, and I thought, knowing their relationship, that might have been an opportune time to go, oh my God, by the way, how is Artie? And I just... There was like silence.
And then when it came up on the air, Gilbert talked about the advice Artie gave him on the DVDs and just made a joke out of it.
Right.
But I guess that's why Gilbert's here. Nick in Lake Tahoe, you're on the wrap-up show. Hey, Nick.
Hey, guys. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Good. Hey, Gilbert is a fucking home run. I like when he sits in. He was hilarious today. I mean, he needs to come in more often, as far as I'm concerned. He was great. Could Gilbert come in more, or he just comes in when he wants? What's the deal on that?
I think Gilbert comes in when he's promoting something. I think you don't want to. If you come in too much, then when you really need to promote something, it might be, oh my God, you were just in 5 times in the last month, and then you can't promote what you need to. So he comes in when he needs to.
Yeah, but he's pretty much, he just calls you and says, hey, I need to come on, or is it a swinging door for him, more or less, or?
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah. Hey, I thought he was fantastic. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
All right, thank you, Nick. And if you're not a Gilbert fan, or maybe you weren't that into him today, when that reporter came in, then it was just open season for both Howard and Gilbert. And I think Gilbert being there also pushes Howard in a direction he may not otherwise go with that.
Right. No, Gilbert definitely directs you down to his level. There's no doubt.
Now, how did Robin feel about that attention that the reporter got from American Way magazine?
I mean, it's got to be embarrassing. You got a reporter, and somebody thinks you're important enough to do a story about you, so you're sort of proud, and in your mind, you probably imagine, though, right? Robin was regal, and she does such a great job in this and that. And then all of a sudden you hear shitting stories, and Gilbert's talking, all this wacky stuff, and they're asking Robin, do you know Robin loves anal? That's got to be tough.
On Thursday's wrap-up show, all the talk was about the invitation that Howard got from Conan O'Brien to come and do the Tonight Show. We all think Howard should go. Howard is hesitant because he doesn't really like to fly, but there was plenty of opinion as what Howard should do if he decides to make that big trip. Hopefully he does. Here's how that talk. I think the big topic today was Howard's invitation from the folks over at Conan O'Brien at the Tonight Show to get him on there. And Gary, should Howard go do this?
My opinion, absolutely. This is one of those things that, I always say that the people here at Sirius are always trying to get him to go out and promote, and sometimes it doesn't seem right. This is so organic. This is so great. If Howard goes on that show, everybody will be watching. There's a million good things that'll come from it. First of all, Howard could have the highest ratings in the history of the Tonight Show, but Jay won't have them. It's always fun goofing on Jay. Conan's a good guy, and it gets the word out to a lot of people that we're still around and that satellite radio is still a great place to get us. So there's no downside for him doing it except for traveling across the country.
Well, I was going to say, what's stopping him from doing it? Is
traveling
it just
across the country.
And, well, he also said that it shortchanges people here. He's got a show to do every day. And
he's saying if he has to take days off from here. But I think that, as a perfect, for instance, I said to him, if you leave on Thursday right after the show, they send you a private plane, and you're on the private plane at, I don't know, say noon, land at 3:30 L.A. time, then you can do it and come fly back on Friday.
Yeah, but you're also, taking Howard's side, you're dead tired after flying across the country and doing a show that morning. But they could probably tailor their schedule. it's not live. They could
push it back
schedule
a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing is you could leave after the show on Thursday, fly out, get a good night's sleep, do it on Friday, and fly home first thing Saturday morning.
That seems to make the most sense.
Or you could, even if it's a private plane, you could just leave right afterwards, red eye at home, and just be home on Saturday morning.
I think this is such a no-brainer. This is a Magic Johnson type situation. I'm going to give Conan some credit because I don't even think he's booking Howard for the ratings. He's booking Howard out of spite, which is the greatest thing in the world. Howard has to be recognized as being in the forefront of the Jay Leno hate movement. He is the godfather of hating Jay Leno, and I think it's great for Conan to give him his due and to basically book Howard out of spite solely because Howard hates Jay and Jay hates Howard. It's great. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see Howard take over the Tonight Show.
Well, do you think that the segment would go as Howard would want it to go with his real sit down?
The segment always goes how Howard wants it to go.
I think this is one of those great moments where Conan will more than be happy to let Howard hijack the show. And Howard will sit there and start asking Conan all these questions, some of which he can answer, some of which he won't. And that'll be funny, too. He'll go, come on, Conan, say it. You hate Jay. Jay's a scumbag. Say it. I can already see it. It's awesome.
How honest do you think Conan will be?
He'll turn red. He'll make faces that will tell you what his answers are. It'll be big news. Howard went on. It'll be all over all the tabloid shows, Entertainment Tonight, The Insider. Howard went out there and got Conan to trash. First of all, just by virtue of having Howard on, you're saying fuck you to Jay.
Right.
I just want to say, it's spite. It's so great. Conan, I love it. So spiteful.
Now, Howard also brought up that, or maybe it wasn't Howard, Benji, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the networks, they wouldn't let it happen.
Well, that's one. Yeah, I was curious. Would Howard ever, Gary, maybe you'd be more familiar with this. Would Howard ever say to them, and would they ever say, yes, listen, I will not do this unless I get a recording of it, whether it plays on TV or not, I get to play it?
No. I don't think Howard. I don't think we usually don't say that, and nobody would agree to it. But
because it seems like that's one of the reasons that's
but
Howard
think about
saying,
this. Think about this for a second. If Howard goes on and they don't air it, it is now 1,000 times bigger news. It's only good for us.
That's true.
And somebody. Right. Because somebody always does, because thank God you listeners work in every aspect of the world, somebody will get that to us.
Dude, and you got to remember, Conan, huge fan of the show. Right. Those guys,
But Conan might not have control of it. But you're saying like undercover.
I think someone there would probably
Conan
make
turns
sure
on his cell phone or something like that.
Yeah, that the tape gets here. And Gary's 100% right. It makes it a much bigger story if they have Howard go all the way out there and then they don't use it. They have to use it. And even if they cut it all up, to like a Richard Christie audio book, Howard knows what happened, and that makes the story all the more compelling. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and you know what? Listen, the interns don't have access to release a CD of our show, but if somebody really wanted to, they could grab one and put it on the internet, meaning somebody the lowest level of Conan could grab a tape and get it out there, or to us.
When was the last time Howard did The Tonight Show?
Well, it had to have been with Jay. And it was probably the time
when he brought the girls on,
the lesbians. That's it.
So about 94, maybe 90. It probably would have been either for Private Parts or Miss America, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking 96 is what it sounds like.
And Jay has done us since then. Like he did us at least 99.
Yeah, no, Jay has come on after, but I think Jay got sick of us goofing on him and he just stopped calling.
But the quote unquote Tonight Show, Howard hasn't been on for 15 years. I mean, that's...
but again, like to me, the Tonight Show, that's meaningless. There's a show on this like. There's a Jay Leno. The Tonight Show doesn't mean anything anymore. You get the 11:30 slot at NBC, or you don't. But
it doesn't mean anything to a lot of people, but to some people, like Conan and Letterman, for example, it means everything.
Right, to 3 people, it means something.
Well, those guys wanted it.
4. I'm just saying that most people don't think of the Tonight Show as a Tonight Show. They think of it as a Jay Leno show. And so if you replace somebody, then it's the Conan show. People don't think of the Tonight Show the way you think of like Friends, and you just keep moving casts in and out.
I know like an enemy of our enemy is our friend, or vice versa, and we're friends with Rosie anyway. But did you find her reasoning a little ridiculous?
At first I did, and then I thought about it. I know what you're saying. Listen, it's Jay Leno's show, and he can say, hey, I want to work every day. But I think what she was saying was that, we're thinking of Jay Leno's show today, this wildly successful thing, and what it was the network show. And they went to Jay and they said, it's not working. We'd like to put somebody on Friday night to help boost us. And he said no. And I can understand why he would say no. I can understand
I totally get why he'd say no. I mean, if you're saying that, right, his show wasn't established. So why would you open the door to another comedian to sit in your chair?
I can understand what but she's saying.
Because if I said to Rosie, I want one of the days of your show, or anyone, someone of a higher level.
That's why I was a little lukewarm about giving it to Howard at first, but then the rest of the stuff that she said. But I can understand why he wouldn't want to give it away. I agreed with everything else that she said, that he's got nothing in his life, and that he seems to.
And also how the other great part is, even though I don't necessarily agree with her being upset what Jay did, the phone call that Jay made to her, the totally disingenuous, I didn't know what was going on phone call.
No.
That's
how do you know
funny.
that's disingenuous? He might not have known ahead. He might not. The network people might say, we want you, without checking with him first.
Well, that's what they did do.
And that's what he said to her. Look, I didn't know this was going on behind my back.
And that post-game phone call, as I like to call it, is Jay's move. He does it with everything. Right, yeah. Look, when the Kimmel thing came on, when Jimmy did Leno as Leno, Jay called him next day, thought it was funny, and now tonight Kimmel is going to be on Leno doing the 10 to 10 thing.
Can I have a quick late night question? When Jimmy Kimmel first got his job as a late night talk show host, he did a blistering interview against Jay Leno. Talked about how he hated Jay Leno's guts, how he's soulless, and now they seem to be friends. What happened there?
I don't remember the interview, but I don't know. You know, people. I don't know. I haven't seen the interview, so I don't remember.
I'll send it to you after.
Hey,
the show.
I wanted to ask Howard. I don't know if he would like. I know him and Jimmy are friends. I felt it was just a total hunch that Howard may have given Jimmy some ideas on that Leno thing.
Well, you'd have to ask Howard, obviously, because Jimmy did nail Leno. Everything from the band on with the jokes to, it was a really great bit that he did. And he did the entire show as Leno.
Right. The one thing I will say that Rosie started to get into, and Jason and I talked about yesterday, Jason didn't really remember the history of Jay Leno, and he was talking about Jay's old manager, Helen Kushnick, who I was very friendly with. And I thought she was out there, don't get me wrong, but I think if she was a guy, she would have never taken the shit that she got. But she got
the royal screw.
She got the royal screw. And Jason was asking me about it, and the thing that people forget is that she was a pit bull. And she was out there doing some things that, weren't necessarily above board. But the point was, whether Jay knew exactly what she was doing or whether Jay knew that there was a person out there that would do anything, Jay sort of, acted like he didn't know what was going on. He knew who she was and what she was capable of, and he was more than happy to let her go attack and then act like I didn't know what was going on, because she's the one who planted the story in the paper that said that Carson was retiring and Jay Leno was taking over.
Yeah.
And that's the story that made Johnny Carson go, fuck you, I quit.
Right.
And he quit. She got that whole ball rolling, and then Jay tried to apologize to Johnny. I didn't know. But he knew who he had as a manager, and he was happy to let her do the dirty work.
Now, how do you think Kimmel and Letterman will feel about Howard doing Conan? I mean, Jimmy's his friend, as Howard said, but Letterman's, it's 11:30. It's going to get ratings.
I think that everybody is all happy in taking shots at Jay. I really do. I think that they're all banding together. And I think, while Jimmy or Letterman would rather have it on their show, it's not as bad as Howard going on another show, because at the end of the day, they're all fucking Jay.
Good, thanks.
Why are you guys filming? You're not on camera. It's
part of the show.
Yeah, but you don't have a video part of the show anymore, do you?
No, we do.
He has his own. Where are you? Look at that. You walk backwards and you.
I walk backwards. Yeah, I can do some of my sleep.
What's it on?
It's called Howard TV.
Oh,
and
really?
it's a pay-per-view channel.
Oh, really? Pay-per-view.
Yes.
And do people pay?
People do pay. Yeah.
No kidding. So they're paying for the radio, and they're paying for the television, and the ratings have gone up, I hear.
Yeah. He's doing well.
Yeah. So good. Well, I'm so glad to be here.
William Shatner, of course, the captain of the Star Trek, author, actor, singer, mime. Mime is another thing he does.
Wow. Is there anything
he can't do?
he doesn't do?
The only thing he doesn't do is talk to George Takei. I'm gonna try and bring them together. I have an opportunity here. I think I could get George on the phone.
I looked at him. He didn't look so interested in George Takei.
Seemed real grumpy. William Shatner, old friend of the show.
Yes. Is he coming in?
Give him a chance.
All right.
The captain of the Star Trek.
I don't know if anybody's told him he's wanted.
I wonder if Bill went and saw the new Star Trek J.J. Abrams movie. I know he was irked that he wasn't in it.
Pissed that he wasn't in it.
Yeah. But I wonder if he really went to see it, but he won't admit he saw it.
Right.
Right.
Well, how do you trap him there if he's not admitting it?
I was going to say Bill looked terrible when he walked in the door, but it was Benji. Oh, there's Bill Shatner. Look at this guy. What are you doing?
He's got something for you.
Oh, you son of a gun. You think I'm 1 year old. Is that a bagel?
It's a bagel.
Oh.
And it's a birthday.
Oh.
It's a birthday bagel.
It's a Jewy birthday bagel.
Well, it's not even in the center. It's off center, but then that's appropriate for you.
Are you Jewish?
Yeah.
You are. You know, no one. I feel Shatner is a changed name.
No.
I feel you try to hide your Judaism.
No. Why?
Let me make a wish.
Yeah. What's your wish?
I wish you would talk to George Takei.
That's Bill's wish.
I heard you. That was so bad. Why am I way over here?
Just sit over there.
Oh,
who cares where you sit?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But we're still on the camera thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of those trick candles, you son of a bitch. You got me.
I know, see?
It doesn't go out?
What is that thing?
Look, I blew it out and I went, oh, I did such a good job.
There it goes.
There it goes.
It comes right back.
That's hysterical.
You are funny.
You are funny. You talk about Weird Al?
Yeah.
So you talked to Weird Al.
Yes.
And all you got was Weird Al.
What do you mean?
Well, he just played. He had this character going, right?
Right.
Yeah, he was not a good interview.
I had one of the great interviews of all time.
On your new show.
On this new show
Who'd
called...
you get?
Well,
you got Weird Al, didn't you?
No. Well, he plays the role of Weird Al. The new show, of course, in the second season, launched this a couple of weeks ago on Bio Channel called Shatner's Raw Nerves. I'm doing a talk show.
I'm going to ask you about that because there's a lot of interesting things that are going on there.
Fantastic.
All right, first let me start with this whole George Takei thing.
George
Listen to
Takei,
me. I want to settle this thing once and for all.
Let's settle it.
Okay.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should get George.
Go ahead.
And George won't come on my show.
Let's get George. I can get George on the phone. I can.
No, here.
I can get him in here.
No. We don't want to do that here.
But let's get him on the phone and let's set up a time where I can come on the show.
Don't get George on the phone. No.
Why won't you get George? You know what? Listen.
Because we have to make an occasion of it.
We will. But listen to me. I want to set this thing up. Listen to me for once. Stop talking so much. You've said in interviews, I don't understand why George has a problem with me.
What's his problem? Right.
Now, we know that there are several of the original Star Trekkers.
Wait a minute. Several is a...
Well, you got Takei.
Well, how many are there?
There's at least...
Several.
There's at least 5 of them that have a problem with you.
No.
You got Nichelle.
Well, Nichelle has a smaller problem.
Okay. You got the guy who died, Scotty. He had a problem with you.
Well, that's his word only.
Right. You had George who had a problem with you. So it's got to be
3.
something you're doing. There's got to be.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So I'm saying, let's get Takei on the phone.
Yeah.
If Gary can get him. I don't
on
even know
the phone doesn't work.
Listen to me. Not to get things, to set up a time where we could agree that we have to sit down and work this thing out.
All right, here's the problem.
Go ahead.
Okay.
What's your problem?
A lot of people, apparently, when it's on the texting and the twittering and it's very popular thought.
Yes.
People like the idea that George and I will talk about what's bothering George.
Right.
Okay. So in order to take advantage of that popularity of that subject,
we'll do it on your show.
Perfect.
But we got to get him on the phone to set it up.
Because I want to get you. I want to interview you on Raw Nerve. No, don't give me no.
I want to interview you
Stop
on
talking
Raw
for a
Nerve.
moment. Stop talking for a moment and listen to me.
I told you what I'm comfortable with.
No, listen to me. Listen to me.
Go ahead.
I got to get you on Raw Nerve.
I'll tell you how I'll do it.
How?
I want you and that George Takei in the same room. We sit down on Raw Nerve.
Perfect.
And let me sit there and talk to you two motherfuckers and talk some sense into
That is perfect.
Let's do it. So let me get George on the phone and set it up.
But I don't know. I have no authority to say on February the 20th.
Let's get him to agree, and let's get the two of you to agree that we're going to do this.
The only person we didn't have agreeing was Bill.
Well, that's what...
No, I'm agreeing.
Listen to me. I got George on the phone now. I got him. If you give me permission, I would never sabotage you.
If you give me that voice, the guy who does
let's
the
get
voice.
him on and let's set it up.
Let him stand up.
Let's set it up.
That person who does George's voice.
I won't blow the load. In other words, I won't have...
Exactly.
Right, I get it. I get it. Let me handle this.
He's a pro.
Try to be professional.
Listen to me.
What?
Don't talk so much.
George. Hello. Hello, George?
You haven't got him.
Hi. I have him.
This is George.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Georgie.
Yes.
I've got Bill Shatner. George.
It's 4:30 in the morning. A guy over 70 can't make sense at 4:30 in the morning.
He'll make sense.
No, it's not 4:30 in the morning. I'm here in New York.
Let's tape the show today. George, what are you doing in New York, first of all?
Well, I live here.
Oh, I didn't even know you live here now.
When did you move?
No, I have a condo here, and, we live both places.
Oh, okay.
We just got in from London Saturday.
Okay.
What were you doing in London?
Oh, Look at this.
I was doing a play.
You know who you're talking
the Emperor
to?
of China.
The Emperor of China. Do you know who you're talking
I played
to?
the Emperor of China in a holiday production. There's this British tradition called pantomime. Where, you know about pantomime.
Yes.
Latin. And
Bill, why are you laughing at George?
I'm not laughing.
You know you are.
I am not laughing.
You asked him what he was doing. Do you feel he's verbose?
Verbose? No, he just talks a lot.
What?
George, do you realize you're talking to Bill Shatner?
I do.
You do.
You do.
All right,
You
okay.
do. Okay.
I didn't know that. George.
Yes.
Bill is saying now he really wants to find out, he wants to explore with you why you're so irked with him.
Irked is not a good word.
What is it?
Well,
Angry,
first of all,
white-hot anger.
White-hot anger.
No, there isn't anger. I see.
George, it's got to be white-hot anger or nothing works.
Well, first of all, Bill, we invited you to our wedding, and then you went on YouTube ranting and raving about not getting an invitation.
Now, isn't this getting into the meat of things?
That's exactly. Thank you,
Well, George. Bill, do you want to
told me having a psychosis and that there's something drastically wrong with me. Well, I'm more than happy to talk with you, but not on your show where you control everything.
Right.
Howard said you would mediate a discussion between you and me.
Yes.
And certainly that is acceptable.
All right. So George says, Bill, listen to me. Mr. Shatner. Mr. Shatner.
Yes.
And Mr. Takei. Both of you are dear friends. I would
You're
love
dear friends with George?
Yes, I love George. I love him.
And I love
I'm
you
sorry,
too.
Bill.
You're a wonderful actor.
I love you too.
But I just can't understand why you go off on these wild tangents and name calling that it's totally uncalled for.
You know, you both are you both are admirals. And
but I'm an older
admirable.
You're both admirals. Admirals.
Verbose admirals.
You're both verbose admirals. Listen, Bill, I got to ask you something. I know George is quite passionate about this, and we treat it in a serious way. My fear is on going on your show that you're not really going to answer the questions
and you're going to take
seriously,
control.
And you're going to try to take control. Are you going to really talk to George in a serious way and try to put this behind you?
Putting it behind me may be a risky endeavor, but
that's a gay joke.
See, there you go again.
But
are you making fun of George being gay right now?
No. It's a serious business.
Right.
Okay. I will be myself.
Right.
I do not want control.
Right.
I want information.
And will you give George
information?
information?
Are you concerned? Do you care that
let
George
me
is
ask
accepting you?
It
But
drives
George has a question.
my everyday.
George has a question. I'm sorry, George. Go ahead.
I have a question. Bill, before you went on the YouTube raving about not getting an invitation, why did you not phone us or get someone to talk to us? We would have happily sent you another invitation if there had been some kind of mishap and our initial invitation didn't get to you. Why did you feel you have to make it a public rant?
Why were you ranting in public?
Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's a question we must examine on Raw Nerve.
Okay.
Tuesday nights on the
Fair
Bio
enough.
Channel.
Okay, fair enough. And George has agreed to that.
Yes.
All right. Now, when are we going to get this sit-down going?
But what I really want to know from
Robin,
William Shatner.
You interrupted us. When are we going to...
Wait a minute, because if you're going to take this, do you care about ending this feud with
Passionately.
George? Really?
It drives,
I mean, honestly,
it drives my everyday.
You sound sarcastic now,
Yeah.
and I know you're being sarcastic. It doesn't drive
How am
you
I
every
being
day.
sarcastic?
No,
I am telling you, it drives my everyday.
All I know is your candle burned my bagel up. Listen to me. No, what you see?
You wanted to
this
toast
is
it,
not
didn't
the William Shatner I want on your show. What I want to know is, do you really have a desire to understand why most of your Star Trek castmates did not get along with you?
No, that's not so.
George, is that true?
All of my colleagues have indicated. And
all of his colleagues are not different from my colleagues.
Right. All of your colleagues, meaning all the guys on the show.
All of our colleagues have expressed, some publicly, others privately, their disappointment with your behavior on set as well as off.
40 years ago.
Yes.
All right. Well,
So,
we
now,
must.
but now listen, are you going to try to work through this with me?
Absolutely.
I'll conduct this interview if I know you'll conduct it in a serious manner.
You will conduct it, and I will play my violin.
No. I really want you two to seriously talk about this.
I wish you'd stop using that word serious and use the word bio.
No, I want it to be handled in a way that I know you're going to work on understanding.
I am going to work on understanding, and I'll tell you why.
Go ahead.
The reason why is that for the last many years, George has expressed dissatisfaction with me.
Yes.
Many, many years.
Yes.
I have remained dignified, in a dignified fashion. I have been silent.
You feel you're above it?
Not above it, maybe below it.
But you feel you're better than George?
No. Better or worse doesn't even enter into it. But
go ahead.
We are of a certain age, George and I,
right,
whereby the time we have left to ameliorate.
So, in other words, you're seeing the writing on the wall.
We better do
it's actually up in neon.
Right.
Die.
Right. So you're ready to sit down in a serious way and say, okay, let's work through this. And really listen to him and not just blow him off and go, hey, George, who cares?
No. Well, why would I want to put him on a valuable half-hour show?
All right, I'll do it. If you guys are ready to do it. And when do you tape this cockamamie show?
Well, we'll tape it. I need to talk to the studio.
Go ahead.
And I'll get back to both of you.
What do I have to wear? A suit? If I'm the host?
No.
I'm in a sense the host, if you will.
Yes.
And you're going to be a guest.
Yes. No, you don't have to wear anything or whatever you wish.
George, what are you going to wear for the show?
What I'm wearing right now. I can come down right now.
No, I mean...
No, we're not ready right now.
No. We're negotiating this William Shatner's Raw Nerve we're going to do it on. Where I come in...
on Raw Nerve, and Howard, you're going to be on mediating that.
Yes. That's what I'm agreeing to.
I'd be happy to appear on that.
All right. We'll film it anywhere you want to be filmed, Howard.
Right.
If you want to do it in New York, we'll come to New York.
New York, of course.
All right.
I'm not
Howard
schlepping
won't
out
come to Los Angeles, so we'll do it here.
I'm not getting on a plane. I mean, listen.
What do you mean? I'm not getting on a plane.
Only so much I'm willing to do.
I'm willing to mediate, but you have to come to me.
Yeah, I mean, you come to me, please. You're all a pain in the ass. Let's sit there and listen to you two schlubs knock each other around for a half hour.
Well, now the truth is coming in. That's how you really feel, isn't it?
Let's do it in a boxing ring, just in case it breaks out into a fight.
Okay, I'm game for that, Bill.
Hey, George, do you think you could beat up Bill Shatner?
Well, I won't speculate, but I have the confidence that I will boldly go where Bill hasn't gone.
Really?
Well, you have many times, I understand.
He's gone a lot of new places, explored a lot of new things. All right, listen, I'm down for this. William Shatner is down for it. George Takei is down for it.
All right, this is...
I will do it.
Unprecedented.
Unprecedented on the airway.
We've got a date.
George, was Bill sexy? Did you find him sexually arousing at all?
Is this sexual tension?
Yeah. Is there any sexual tension in it for you?
No, I don't think so.
You got to admit Bill's attractive.
Bill is a fine actor, and yes, there's something attractive about someone who's good at what he does. But no, there was nothing sexual in my...
Even in the younger days?
Even in the younger days.
Wow, you never said...
I was attracted to a different kind of guy.
Right.
Well, who in the crew did you find attractive?
Who were you attracted to, Nimoy?
Nimoy has a very attractive mind. Jimmy has a very attractive personality. Dee has not a sexual thing, but he was something of a historian because he was.
You're telling me. Wait a second. You're telling me if Bill had come on to you, you would not have had sex with him.
Well, that's a different story.
Exactly. And you never had sex with Ricardo Montalban?
No.
Oh, all right. There was a rumor that perhaps you too.
He was sexy.
He was sexy. Him you liked.
There was definitely,
Bill, you're better looking than Ricardo Montalban, aren't you? I mean,
my pecs are even bigger.
Wait, in that movie, were his pecs real?
No.
Oh yeah.
They were?
Oh yeah.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah.
Musculature. Right, Robin?
Yes.
Bill, did you ever find George sexy? Did you ever think of him in a sexual way? You've never had gay sex, have you? Have you ever tried it, even as a young man?
Have you ever even played a gay character?
You ever had a towel snapping incident when you were a young man?
You sound like I should have a spotlight on my head. No, I didn't. I honest to God, I
when
never
you were
did.
a young boy, seriously, you never gave a guy a hand job?
What was that sexual?
Well, the only
incident?
hand job I gave a guy was say hello and shake
his hand.
Shake his hand.
Never went down. Right. Did
No
you know?
towel snapping?
I want you to be honest about something. I'm going to
be very
seriously.
Where else would I not be honest?
Did you know from
That's a
day
double
one
negative, but-
that George was gay?
No, I had no idea.
No idea.
When did you find out?
When he announced it.
Oh, bullshit.
Come on.
You knew.
You were so uninterested in
Honest to God.
You know what? I get the feeling, then you're not kidding, that you really paid very little attention to George. I think that, George, does that drive you crazy that Bill Shatner claims that he paid no attention to you?
Well, he was pretty dismissive of almost everybody.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to get into
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
We're gonna need more than a half hour. Just let me tell you.
This might be a two-parter.
A two-parter.
You might need to make it a
I see a
two-parter.
two-parter coming up. Yeah, but wait a minute. And part of the contract the verbal contract we're establishing is that you will talk honestly too.
Well, I'm going to be part of this.
Yeah, I mean, but when I ask you a question,
sure,
you've got to.
But what's this got to do with me?
No. But
what
this
could you
all,
possibly ask me?
Because I want you on the show as well.
Whoa.
I'm beginning to sound more and more like George.
When you're around George, you talk like him. I wait a second. I'm coming on there. I mean, certainly I would answer a question if you asked me. I'm not doing a whole sit down. I want to sit down with you two maniacs and figure this thing out.
But in the process of doing so, I want to be able to ask you questions about yourself as well.
Okay, but you're going to derail the conversation.
No.
Howard?
Yes. This is a multi.
No. I think Howard's going to be the neutral.
Yeah. That's all very well,
That's right.
But in his neutrality, you can't avoid.
I don't want to be the subject. You're the subject.
In a half hour, you two have too many
you guys have a lot to talk about.
We might have an interview with you involved there too. While I've got you on the camera, let us talk like we.
Please.
No. You've got to agree to that. While I've got you on camera,
is it off if I don't agree?
Show altogether.
What'd you say, George?
Bill, you're going to use that to divert go away.
I'm not going to use anything.
You are.
What's
Bill,
the matter with you guys?
George is right.
If you watch, any of the newsmaker reports, the moderator is not the subject. The subject.
But why are we watching something else?
That format.
Why
are
we using something else as an example?
Because George is saying. It's about you and him.
It's about time you paid attention to him.
Pay attention to George.
We've got to keep addressing the issue, not trying to.
I will address the issues, but in addressing
a half-hour format, it's going to be more than enough time.
But we
to only address you and George, and I will get to the bottom of your problems. But to sit there and then conduct an interview with me is ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I tell you why it's not ridiculous.
Go ahead.
Because I want. Hold a second, George.
Thank you, George.
George, hold on a second.
Yes.
I want to interview you as well, Howard.
Oh, please.
Now, if you want to make it a separate occasion directly afterwards, that would be all right.
I don't want to do that.
Well,
I want to interview you and George on your show.
Howard, come and have a conversation with me as well.
Out of respect, in other words.
Yes.
For you.
Yes.
I can't respect you.
Over the years.
I have very little respect.
Under these circumstances.
It's very difficult for me to respect you.
I know, but you can...
Can I just bring up one thing?
Yes.
You did comment on George once in your audiobook. I remember you did talk about him, and I want to play it for everyone to remind George and you of what you said.
My cheeks are melting, George Takei's monster. Fucking slapping.
Now, I said that. I said that in a fit of pique.
Listen, do me a favor, and George is right.
Or is it a peak of fit?
I don't want. Listen to me, Bill. I don't want this whole thing belittled. This is a big deal, and I feel by me being the interview subject is wrong.
Surely, you will be too emotional after this whole thing.
I wanted
to do another.
What a time to conduct an interview. To have.
Bill, this is what I'm offering.
Yeah.
I want to come to your show.
Yes.
I want to sit down with you and Mr. Takei.
Yes.
I want to discuss what went down all those years ago and why it is still going on to this. Hopefully there'll be a resolution where you and George hug, and God knows do what else. And
bury the hatchet.
Bury the hatchet, so to speak. And where you bury it is your business. But I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
Don't make this about me and you doing an interview. Someday that'll happen in the future, I'm sure. I don't know.
Wait a minute.
What I'm saying, listen.
Who can tell?
Who can tell? Who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. But listen to me. I want to come to your show and concentrate on one thing. You and Mr. Takei.
Right, we'll focus on that.
All right.
But you've got to promise that you will allow me to ask you some questions about yourself
That's crazy.
Well, we've got cameras there, and we've set it up. Why not?
I want you to promise me that you two guys will nude wrestle. All right? All right. I mean, what's all these promises? Let's limit it to this. Listen to me.
Yes.
Bill, it'll be great ratings winner. You're going to get the home run out of this because George and I are going to show up and you're going to have a real confrontation. It's going to be big news. It's going to make the show big.
And he might be able to do a series of these and reconcile you with all of them.
That's right. This is going to be a one-shot deal. Don't put conditions on it. Let it be about you and George. Stop it.
All right, George.
Okay, good.
All right.
George, you heard it here. You're going to have your day with Bill.
All right. Good. We've got a date.
Right.
And I'll set that date
there.
up immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Shatton. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Howard, you said you'd put this together, and you sure did.
Absolutely, George. Listen, and I'm not taking sides. I'm going to be fair.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but you love him the more than you love me.
And that's why we need you to be neutral.
I will be neutral.
I see a glitter in his eye.
You feel George and I are secretly lovers?
No, not necessarily physical, but there's an appreciation.
You know what would be great? Your wife should be there, and Brad should be there, too.
Brad?
That's right.
Who's Brad?
Oh, now, you see...
That's terrible.
That's terrible.
Bill.
What are we talking about?
There it is.
Who is Brad?
Brad.
You know... Wait a second. Don't no one say anything. Who is Brad?
I know a couple of Brads.
Wait. Who am I talking about when
I
I
don't
say
know.
Brad? You're being mean.
You
Brad.
can't figure it out.
Brad. Brad is the lover. Brad should be there. Absolutely, Brad.
Brad's my husband.
Of course.
You knew that.
Wait a
that
minute.
was
Your husband.
They got married.
No, I understand that.
That was the marriage wedding that you made a big fuss about.
Right. Okay.
Remember that?
No. You see, you got to allow me the senility of old age.
Are you a little bit homophobic in a sense? Are you?
You don't like the husband term?
You don't like the husband term?
Not in the slightest. No, just husband or wife.
All right, this is going to be a good show. Let's not even blow our load now.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Hold back.
This is
Just pre-blowing our load.
Right.
All right. Listen,
this
George,
is a pre-blow.
I'm looking forward to this, and I can't wait to bring you guys together.
On a Tuesday night
on Raw Nerve.
On Raw Nerve on the Bio Channel.
Is it a live show or do we tape?
No, we film.
We film.
Mm-hmm.
Film. Oh.
Lots of cameras.
I demand the camera only take my right side, not my left. Thank you. All right, George, I'll see you then.
Okay.
All right.
Checking out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If this works out, I'm going to get these two to play gay chicken.
What do you mean? What's gay chicken? How do you play
gay chicken? You'll be sitting on the couch next to George. Let's say in the end, we have 10 minutes left on the show. We have time to kill. And you guys have made up.
Well, right.
This is a case
or not, and time to kill has another meaning.
You put your hands on each other's knee, and then you begin to slowly inch up.
And the first one to
scream chicken loses. In other words, if
you know that William Shatner will lose that contract. That's no game.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he'll like it. Listen to me. All right. So we have that resolved. Let's move on. Let's move on. There's other things you came here to talk about other than George.
Well, actually,
that was
Raw Nerve and Tuesday nights on Bio Channel is all I have to say.
I'm going to talk to you about Raw Nerve. This is where you are the interviewer. First of all, you had on John Edward recently. That's the psychic.
Yeah.
Not John Edwards.
No, not John Edwards.
No.
We wish we could get him.
One day.
But John Edward, the psychic, why did you treat him seriously? You know, listen, you're a very intelligent man. I trust you and I respect you.
Do you believe he can talk to the dead?
Do you believe John Edward can talk? Why didn't you say to him, John, this is a rip-off?
I'm going to tell you why. And
go ahead.
Have you had a tragedy in your life?
I've had many tragedies in my life. Look at me.
Right. All those drugs. Howard.
Go ahead.
In a tragedy in your life.
And you've had tragedies.
And
I know
I've had tragedies. When something terrible happens to you.
Go ahead.
You seek any avenue you can.
All right. Fair enough. So in other words, when you're weak, should this guy be preying on you? Do you believe that he's contacting, let's say, your ex-wife who died or someone like that?
Well, in this instance, as I said to him on the show, I was so
distraught
and desirous of communicating what happened, why, what, where. Well, I sought any avenue. Okay, I don't really believe.
Right.
I don't. Wait a minute. I don't really believe in a heaven and hell. I don't really believe in it.
Okay.
But in moments of great distress, like many soldiers can tell you,
You cling to that.
You suddenly it becomes it's a
So
real
here
possibility.
you were at a moment of weakness.
Right.
You believe that turning
And
to
I
John
thought-
Edward for answers about your wife?
I was desperately seeking any answer.
But didn't he prey on you?
Now, wait a
Well,
minute.
let's ask
Wait
you
a
what
minute.
happened.
What
That's,
happened?
that's what I'm. If you give me a moment to talk on your show.
All right, what happened?
Well, I thought maybe John can connect me. So I called the show. I said, please, if you have any ability to contact, he said, come on the show.
Okay.
And I'll try, I'll do what I can. This is what I can remember is 10 years ago. And so I'm sort of on my way to do the show, whether I was literally or the next day or whatever, when the blinding light of what am I doing hit me, and I backed out.
Okay, good.
All right? So, having thought for a moment that I might be desperate enough to expose me, the celebrity, in this moment of grief that I wanted to do anything I could to reach out, I thought that's an interesting area to examine. I'm fascinated, as everybody must be, about the unknowns of what is and what isn't.
But isn't the angle that here's a guy who I don't believe can talk to the dead and certainly couldn't have helped you in this horrible moment, and yet he portrays himself as this. This is my feeling, and I know that must be your feeling as well.
Well, all right, here's the thing.
Shouldn't you expose a guy like
Here's
that?
the thing.
Go ahead.
Certain mysterious events have happened over the history of psychics.
Right.
That beggar explanation.
Right.
And not having an explanation, one's mind tends to go to the supernatural.
So do you believe in it?
I don't, and yet there's an aspect of my mind that says maybe it's possible. And rather than shut your mind to that possibility, I'm reading a book right now.
But you
wait,
know
wait, wait a minute, wait. Let me finish.
Houdini.
Wait, no, not Houdini. Houdini did tricks and then...
No, Houdini exposed all of them.
Exposed all that. I understand that.
That's right.
But I'm reading a book right now of a man who had an autistic child.
Go ahead.
And went to Mongolia to try and find the shamans who could cure his kid.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm in the middle of it right now. And they're dancing over the kid, and they're beating the kid over
What
with
happened?
drums.
Nothing.
That's not true.
That's
I know
not
the
true.
story,
Apparently,
yeah.
the child. I'm halfway through the book.
Right.
I'm
They probably ate
describing.
him.
I'm describing one of many events of people who seek help in a spiritual way,
And it works.
and it works. Now, whether it works because of the our internal human mechanism, or whether there's a touching by a spirit, who can say?
All right.
But why not?